Chapter 16. After the trip to Pingjiang, Lu Qing felt that he had really calmed down from the inside out. In the past, he had gritted his teeth and persevered with great perseverance in the face of hard training every day. He was even firmer because every little bit of effort paid off. But in the end, he had to be patient in order to achieve the professional 9th pin in 1 or 2 years. For the sake of winning Yanzhika's favor, for the sake of a bright future, he was eager for quick success and instant benefits. This kind of mentality could indeed drive him to practice hard in a short time. But when he encountered certain setbacks, when his achievements were not as expected, he would inevitably feel even more depressed and lost, tormenting his mind and bringing unpredictable consequences. Guard against arrogance and rashness. It was a good rule from ancient times. He was not arrogant, but he was restless. After calming down, Lu Qing gradually integrated the daily training into his life. He was calm, gentle, and firm. Even his temperament seemed to have changed, which made Kai Zongming quite surprised. He often teased, "Did Qing encounter the unspoken rules? Why do I feel that his temperament has changed a lot?" Facing his words, Lu Qing only said a few words indifferently, "Come here, I'll strangle you." 2 weeks passed unknowingly. Lu Qing felt that he seemed to have broken through a bottleneck and stepped into a new level in yin-yang stance, thunder and fire stance, and condensation stance. His ability to coordinate his body at will improved significantly. His temporary explosive force in 2 or 3 moves improved significantly. His concentration and calmness in martial arts competitions improved significantly. His slightly myopic eyes seemed to have recovered their original clarity. Sometimes he could even feel others' gazes. It was Saturday morning again. It was close to 12 o'clock. Li Mao stopped smiling and said solemnly, "Qing, this is the last time." Lu Qing nodded slightly and got into position, waiting for the second-year senior brother to feed him. Li Mao did not simply go straight for the middle like 2 weeks ago. With a step he swam to Lu Qing's left side. His right hand became a palm knife, diagonally chopping toward Lu Qing's neck. Lu Qing did not panic. He raised his left arm and blocked Li Mao's palm. But before he could counterattack, Li Mao took another step and came behind him. But when Li Mao's foot landed, Lu Qing kicked back without warning. It seemed that he had been prepared. "All right." He praised and took another step forward, dodging the kick. Then he used his footwork and circled around Lu Qing like a dragon. At this point, Lu Qing no longer had to deliberately maintain his half-silent and half-alert state. His mind seemed to be divided and converging at the same time. He focused on observing his opponent's movements while calmly and quickly making decisions, countering each move as it came. He firmly defended himself and didn't get flustered by Li Mao's swimming body palm. After fighting for a while, Li Mao's footwork suddenly changed. He suddenly slid closer and followed up with a rushing step cannon fist. His fist was like a cannon and the wind roared. It had the power to split open a mountain. Lu Qing didn't dare to take it head-on. He turned sideways and pushed his wrist. However, one of Li Mao's feet had already come in between his legs. If he placed it well, it could be used as a fulcrum for his throwing technique. At the same time, it could also affect Lu Qing. Lu Qing wouldn't dare to use his various footwork, making it difficult for him to exert his strength. Seeing this, Lu Qing's mind was full of ideas and countermeasures. However, he didn't hesitate and made a decision in an instant. He took a step back. Li Mao took a step forward and he took another step back. Again. It was as if the two were dancing a tacit dance, and the distance between them didn't change much. Li Mao exhaled and stopped trying. He slid closer and used his feet as a source to drive his waist and back. His fists alternated like a chain of cannons, hitting rapidly. Lu Qing felt like he was in a storm and could be overturned at any time. He had to use all his strength to maintain his balance. However, he didn't lose his composure. He used his fists, elbows, and arms alternately to block. There was a sense of rhythm. His footwork wasn't messed up, and he kept himself in a relatively suitable position to exert strength. Under this kind of attack, if his footwork was messed up and he couldn't exert strength, he would be defeated in an instant. Lu Qing struggled to hold on with the chain cannon fist, tiger roar, and wind roar. He completely forgot about the passage of time. Just when he felt that he was about to reach his limit, Li Mao retreated and the pressure suddenly disappeared. He looked at him blankly and saw Li Mao shaking his head and smiling. "Time's up." The coach blew the whistle and dismissed the class. "This is our first tie." Lu Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Only then did he feel sore in his hands. He shook them and smiled. "Thanks for your mercy." This wasn't modesty but the truth. Because it was just a teaching practice, Li Mao didn't use his full strength. It was more like a form of feeding. You can't say that. If I didn't practice with you every day for more than 2 weeks and feel your obvious improvement every day, I definitely wouldn't believe that you are the same Cheng from before. Li Mao said with emotion. More than 2 weeks ago you were a super rookie who didn't even fight much. You weren't fast, you weren't strong, and your reaction was slow. But now, you are worthy of the evaluation of proficient fist and foot. Proficient fist and foot. Lu Cheng chewed on these words and felt a little joy in his heart. Although, proficient fist and foot sounds like a description for a beginner, it is one of the standard evaluation for an amateur ninth pin. Li Mao said with a smile. Senior brother, you mean I've reached the level of an amateur ninth pin? Lu Cheng asked with surprise. In less than 3 weeks, he had already reached the level of an amateur ninth pin? Li Mao nodded. Proficient fist and foot means you have the ability to use your moves skillfully and reasonably in a fight without messing up your footwork. This alone is better than 90% of the guys who fight randomly, so you must be an amateur ninth pin. Haha, but an amateur ninth pin doesn't necessarily mean proficient fist and foot. Some people have 2 obvious physical advantages. And the ranking event is a competition, not a form of evaluation. They take advantage of the fact that others can't break their defense and can knock down their opponents with one punch. They don't pay much attention to the proficiency of fist and foot movements. Well, I'll say it again. If I didn't practice with you every day, I'd probably ask my girlfriend to come out and watch the Emperor. Do you know how long it took me to reach the level of an amateur ninth pin from a beginner? I started martial arts at the age of 10 and passed the ranking event of amateur ninth pin at the age of 15. Although I didn't practice every day, it was 5 years. 5 years. You've only been practicing for 3 weeks. Lu Cheng wasn't ecstatic. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, it's different. Most people who practice martial arts at a young age are in the growth period of their bodies. Their strength and other physical qualities grow little by little. It takes several years for them to be comparable to adults. But I'm already an adult. I don't need to wait for my body to grow up. Although it's true, it still proves that you have a strong talent. It's a pity that you didn't learn martial arts at the beginning. You missed the best time to practice martial arts. Li Mao said with regret. Then he patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder and walked back to the locker room. Looking at his back, Lu Cheng recalled the joy just now in his heart. 3 weeks to reach the level of an amateur ninth pin. When school starts next year, what rank will I be? Let's not talk about the long term. For now, my improved explosive force, calmness and concentration, as well as my improved coordination, haven't been fully integrated into my moves and footwork. There's always a faint barrier between them. When I break through this barrier and integrate them into one, what level of amateur pin will I be? Thinking about these things, Lu Cheng walked quickly to the female locker room and caught up with Yan Zhika and Guiqing. The weather is so good today. It seems that God is blessing us, he said with a smile. After arranging everyone's time, the get-together was set for this afternoon. They would gather at 1:30 p.m. and go boating at Zhaoshan Lake. They would have a good meal in the evening. Considering that Lu Cheng, Yan Zhika and Guiqing had to get up early for special training, they didn't go to karaoke after dinner. Yan Zhika's black hair was tied up in a ponytail, which made her look more playful and energetic. I've always been the Teru Bozu. I've never seen rain in all the spring and autumn outings I've participated in since I was young. You should thank me. Lu Cheng was about to take advantage of the situation and say, okay, I'll treat you to dinner or send you snacks, to thank you to show my sincerity. But Guiqing interrupted impatiently. We're going to meet later. What's the rush? You guys are not troublesome. It's just a meal. We have to clean up and wash our hair. Lu Cheng almost blushed at her words. He smiled and said, then I'll go take a shower first. See you in the afternoon. See you in the afternoon. Yan Zhika waved her hand with a smile. Lu Cheng resisted the urge to look back and entered the locker room. He sighed slightly in his heart. Through persistent conversations, greetings, pleasantries, and the natural closeness of a classmate, his relationship with Yan Zhika was getting better and better. She even started to call him by his nickname, Cheng. But he always felt that something was missing and couldn't go any further. Just like in high school, there was always some politeness between a boy and a girl who didn't flirt with each other but had a good relationship with each other. What should he do next? After taking a shower and having lunch, Lu Cheng returned to the dormitory. He saw Zhao Chong, Zhang Jingye, and Qiu Zhigao were all choosing clothes to appear in front of the girls with their most energetic looks. Kai Zongming was beside them giving instructions. Not bad. Talker, you're so good. Lu Cheng teased. Kai Zongming laughed. It's not that I'm good. It's just that they usually dress too single, including you. Lu Qing glanced at him and then turned to look at the busy dormitory. He lowered his voice and said to Kai Zongming, Casanova, do you think this guy wants to show off just because he knows some martial arts? Yeah. A hero uses martial arts to break the rules. Kai Zongming looked at Lu Qing from head to toe and pretended to be frightened. Qing, don't tell me you're thinking of putting that slogan into practice? You'll go to jail. What are you thinking about? Lu Qing laughed and scolded him. What I mean is, when I didn't know any martial arts, if I went out with Yanjika, I definitely hoped that it would be a safe trip. No black cars, no hooligans, no road robbers. In short, it would be a smooth trip without any twists and turns. But now, I'm kind of looking forward to meeting some hooligans in the afternoon. If I meet some brainless rich second-generation official, then I can be the hero to save the beauty. Kai Zongming didn't refute. He just calmly replied, wake up. Your goddess is better than you. And there's old Qiu, an amateur sixth pin, and me and Guqing. You won't be the hero to save the beauty. You're right? Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. Well, there's no way to trick him. Chapter 17. Watching Zhao Chang change his clothes and take the gel to the bathroom, Lu Qing suddenly felt a little nervous. He wasn't as calm as when he was practicing martial arts, neither arrogant nor impatient. Talker Casanova, what should I wear? He asked shamelessly. Kai Zongming crossed his arms and said proudly, now you know to ask me? Wear your martial arts suit if you have the ability. People like Chang, model worker, and old Qiu, who have neither good looks nor temperament, should wear light-colored clothes. At least they look clean and energetic. You used to be like them, but have you taken the wrong medicine recently? You're so obsessed with practicing martial arts that you've become like a human and a dog. You've become more sophisticated. You can wear dark-colored clothes. Just wear that black casual shirt of yours and that short leather jacket, the brown one, which looks more energetic. Hey, don't tuck in the shirt and don't pull up the leather jacket, it's old-fashioned. Lu Qing changed his clothes according to Little Ming's guidance. He looked at himself in the mirror and found that he looked pretty good. He had a sense of calmness, but he did not lose the vigor of a college student. As for Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye, although they all followed the basic principle of cleanliness, Kai Zongming deliberately chose them to distinguish them. He did not want to be mistaken as a dormitory uniform or work uniform. After getting ready, they followed Kai Zongming out of the dormitory excitedly and nervously. They went to the agreed meeting place. Talker, what should I do later? Lu Qing asked in a low voice, taking 2 quick steps and walking side by side with Kai Zongming. Kai Zongming laughed and said, be generous, be generous. Men can't be timid. Besides, your goddess is not familiar with Guqing's dormitory, let alone us. In this strange environment, she will naturally be close to and rely on her acquaintances. Guqing's attention is on old Qiu, so here's your chance. Boldly approach her, talk to her, and lead the conversation. Just like how you chat on QQ, she will only be happy and not cold. As for the specific details, I can't guide you, so it's up to you. Just remember the general principle of being generous and generous. Chat on QQ like how I chat on QQ? Damn, I feel like I won't be able to chat without emojis. Lu Qing took a deep breath. Then remember a rule. When you don't know how to answer, make her laugh. Guys can be humorous, but they can't be vulgar, at least not before you two are very intimate. Kai Zongming patted Lu Cheng's shoulder and said, calm down and relax. Anyway, I don't have high hopes for you. It doesn't matter if you fail. Just treat it as gaining experience. Lu Qing glanced at him in disdain. After being mocked by him like this, the tension in his heart faded a lot. They agreed to meet at the east gate of the school. After waiting for about 10 minutes, 5 girls walked over gracefully. Lu Qing noticed Yanjika at first glance and completely ignored the other girls. Because she was going to row a boat, she didn't wear a skirt. Instead, she wore a pair of slim-fit light-colored jeans, a pair of small white shoes, and a white t-shirt. The pattern on the front of her chest was slightly inlaid with sequins. She wore a light green jacket on the outside. Her hair was down and she didn't have bangs. She looked delicate and lively with a bit of purity and cleanliness. Those who dare to show their foreheads are real beauties. Kai Zongming laughed in a low voice. Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye also saw Yanjika at first glance. No matter where she went, she was always the center of attention. They slightly opened their mouths and looked at Lu Qing in surprise. Although they knew that Lu Cheng's old classmates would participate in this social gathering, they didn't expect it to be such an old classmate. Beside her, Zhuang Xiaojun, who they thought was very pretty, was completely overshadowed by her. Qing. Zhao Chang shouted. Lu Qing looked at him blankly. Zhao Chang said bitterly, I understand now. A dog that doesn't bark really bites. You said I betrayed the revolution. You are the real traitor. His words made Kai Zongming and the others burst into laughter. Lu Qing couldn't help but blush. When the 5 girls came closer, Lu Qing silently said 3 words. Be generous, be bold. While saying these words, he stepped forward and greeted them with a practiced smile. He said to Yan Zhika, I thought girls would be a few minutes late. I didn't expect you to be early. Fortunately, we are early. Obviously, Yan Zhika didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, she relaxed a bit because of the acquaintance. She pointed at Guqing beside her and said with a smile, Ah Qing is always resolute. She dragged us here. She even washed her hair at noon for this get-together. As soon as this was said, the few girls beside her snickered. A short girl even echoed, Yes, a special shampoo is very important. Guqing was a bit shy even though she was a straightforward person. She quickly introduced them to Lu Qing. This is Zhuang Xiaojun. That bitch is Pan Shui. This is Yu Fangfang. Lu Qing glanced around casually. Zhuang Xiaojun was wearing glasses. She looked refined and delicate. Her facial features were indeed good-looking. Pan Shui had neat bangs and baby fat. She wasn't tall and was going for the cute route. Yu Fangfang's skin was darker and she wore black-rimmed glasses. After greeting them with a smile, Lu Qing quickly introduced his roommates to Yan Zhika. That foppish guy is Kai Zongming. That guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes is Zhao Chang, our leader. Don't be fooled by his righteous face. In fact, he is the one who instigated this social gathering. Zhang Jingye Qiu Zhigao Old Qiu. They are honest, but they are all in love. The slightly teasing introduction made the girls laugh. Zhao Chang and the others were both angry and amused. The atmosphere suddenly became lively. Yan Zhika covered her mouth and laughed for a while. She lowered her voice and said to Lu Qing, Aren't you afraid of their revenge? Don't worry. I am an upright person. They don't have anything to blackmail me. Lu Qing pretended to be righteous. Kai Zongming secretly gave him a thumbs up and mouthed, Qing, you are good. Zhao Chang and the others also took the opportunity to make fun of Lu Qing and liven up the atmosphere. But they all had a tacit understanding and there was a limit. They only made fun of each other on a superficial level. No one really mentioned the embarrassing things that would ruin the girls' impression of each other. While talking, Lu Qing noticed that Yan Zhika was carrying a small black bag on her back, which made her look charming. In her hand was a white cardboard bag with unknown contents. He took a deep breath and pretended to be normal. He pointed at the white bag and said, Let me help you carry it. Otherwise, if a girl carries something and a boy is empty-handed, we may be criticized on the internet. People may say that the boys in our country are not gentlemanly. Yan Zhika glanced at his frank and slightly humorous words. Then she smiled and said, Okay Qing, gentlemanly? Yes. Lu Qing shouted in his heart. He reached out and took the white bag. He smiled and joked, That's not right. Nowadays, gentlemanly means perverted. I am righteous. The girls were again amused by his self-deprecating words. Kai Zongming quickly signaled Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye to take the other girls' bags. He himself was responsible for Yu Fangfang's. After chatting for a few minutes, the 3 cars that Lu Qing and the others had arranged for arrived. All 3 cars were parked outside the east gate. Kai Zongming had already instructed Lu Qing on how to distribute the cars. Lu Qing plucked up his courage and pulled Qiu Zhigao with a smile. Old Qiu, let's share a car. While speaking, he gave Yan Zhika a wink. Yan Zhika immediately understood. She held Guqing and said, Qing, let's also take that car. The others immediately joined in. Old Qiu couldn't refuse and had to follow Lu Qing on the left side of the back row. Lu Qing thought for a while and sat in the passenger seat. Yan Zhika pulled Guqing, who was a little shy, and squeezed her in the middle. She squeezed herself in the right side. The engine sounded and the car started moving. Lu Qing didn't care about the distribution of the remaining 6 people. He took out his phone and secretly sent a message to Yan Zhika. Old Qiu and Guqing are both strong. You are so pitiful to be squeezed in the back row. Yan Zhika's phone vibrated. She took it out and glanced at it. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. She also joined in the conversation and quietly replied, Alas, fortunately, I am slim. For Qing's happiness, I have to endure it. You don't know how straightforward and outgoing she is. Today she doesn't dare to speak. If I don't accompany her, she definitely won't dare to take this car. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika tacitly created a topic to guide Qiu Zhigao and Guqing to talk, while they secretly communicated on QQ. It was as if they were on the same side and shared some secrets, which made Lu Cheng feel that the relationship between them seemed to be closer. Because the journey was not long enough, the group of 10 people arrived at Zhaoshan Lake in just over half an hour. They rented orange life jackets and 5 two-person rowing boats by the lake. The girls left their paper bags and backpacks at the lake. Kai Zongming took charge of the situation and distributed the boats with a smile. Since it's a friendship party, it must be a combination of men and women. Let's see which boat can row around the island first. Old Qiu, you and Guqing will be in a group. Well, we are both strong. It's not fair for you to be in a group. Old Qiu made a last-ditch struggle. To be honest, Guqing's facial features were not bad, but her body was a little thick. You're a rough man and you've never rowed a boat before. Maybe you'll offset Guqing's efforts. Besides, I've asked around. Guqing knows how to swim. You're a landlubber. With her protecting you, we can rest assured. Kai Zongming's nonsense attracted the agreement of the girls. Old Qiu was confused and agreed. Kai Zongming continued, Lu Cheng, you and Yan Zhika are classmates, so you're more familiar with each other. You're in the same boat. Model worker, you're the big guy from the northwest. Help our petite classmate Pan Shui. Chang, you lead Zhuang Xiaojun and show your talent as a top student. You Fang Fang, we're in the same team. We can't lose. Usually, in such a crowded situation, many people didn't have their own opinions and just went with the flow. Or they had their own opinions but were too shy to speak out. Therefore, 1 or 2 active, positive and bold people could take charge of the situation. Today, Kai Zongming was like that. He forcibly finished the distribution and no one had much objection. Kai Zongming patted Lu Cheng's shoulder quietly and whispered in his ear, Cheng, this is all I can do for you. Chapter 18. It was late autumn. The sky was clear and the air was cool. The waves of Zhaoshan Lake were rising and falling. Lu Cheng wanted to help Yan Zhika onto the boat, but she was as agile as a deer. With a light leap, she stood firmly on the boat, barely causing it to sway further. Sure enough, her martial arts level is higher than mine. Not only can't I save the beauty, I don't even have the chance to help her. Lu Cheng mocked himself. Considering his strength, he boarded the boat according to the rules and sat opposite Yan Zhika, each with an oar. I was going to give you a hand. Yan Zhika snickered and made fun of him. The lake breeze blew her black hair that reached her back. So a beauty saves a hero? Lu Cheng pretended to be shocked. Casanova said that when you don't know how to answer, you have to make her laugh. As expected, Yan Zhika couldn't help but chuckle and ask, Cheng, do you know how to row a boat? No. Lu Cheng answered honestly. Before high school he didn't have the time. During the summer vacation after graduation he spent more than 2 months binge-watching highlights of martial arts competitions and all kinds of news. He kept meeting with his childhood friends and gradually immersed himself in the online world. How could he have the time and interest to go boating? Yan Zhika pursed her lips and blinked her black eyes. She said seriously, what a coincidence. I don't know how to. Lu Cheng laughed. Aren't you a Jiangnan girl? Kai Zongming, Yu Fangfang, Zhao Chang, and Zhuang Xiaojun had already rowed slowly. Qiu Zhigao, Guqing, Zhang Jingye, and Pan Shui were circling around. But I grew up in Xioshan. Besides, there are many Jiangnan girls who don't know how to swim or row. My 2 cousins don't know how to do it. Yan Zhika said with anger and amusement. Lu Cheng knew when to stop and didn't ask about Yan Zhika's family situation. He smiled and said, it seems that nothing can be generalized. Well, since it's such a coincidence that you don't know how to row, it'll be interesting to learn how to row together. Yan Zhika nodded slightly. She held the oars with both hands and pointed to Zhao Chang and Zhuang Xiaojun with her chin. Look at them. They row well. Let's learn. Okay. Lu Cheng looked over and followed Zhao Chang's movements, moving the oars. The oars entered the water, creating green waves and ripples. However, the hull of the boat did not move forward. Instead, it swayed in place. Yan Zhika joined in the paddling. She was like a young girl picking up a chestnut. The sky and the water were like a beautiful painting. However, their boat still didn't move forward. It was spinning in circles. They looked at each other helplessly and found it funny. Lu Cheng was determined to show that he had long thought about rowing the boat. At this moment he was not in a hurry. He sank his mind into his dantian, visualized the Jindan, and entered meditation. Immediately the surroundings became peaceful. The vast nebula rotated slowly, and the details of every part of his body appeared bit by bit. He could feel the ups and downs of the boat and the surrounding waves through their contact with each other. As the boat swayed, the oars dropped, stirring up ripples on the water. Lu Qing saw how the power circulated in his mind. He used this to slightly change his direction and posture to match the boat's movement. At the same time, he found that Yen Zhike, who was on the opposite side, suddenly became proficient. Every stroke of the oar complemented the boat, the waves, and his side. Opening his eyes, Lu Qing met Yen Zhike's eyes. "You've reached the initial level of yin-yang stance? You've mastered yin-yang stance?" Both of them opened their mouths at the same time. Each of them was surprised. Then they looked at each other and smiled. As a boy, Lu Qing took the initiative to answer before Yen Zhike asked again. "Actually, I'm very talented in meditation. I was able to conceal spirit and qi on my first try of yin-yang stance. Otherwise, how could I survive the 3 weeks of special training?" Yen Zhike's expression changed. Her bright black eyes showed obvious surprise. "You entered meditation on your first try?" "Yes." Lu Qing nodded sincerely. Unconsciously, Yen Zhike pouted her lips and exhaled. "I thought it was amazing that I could enter meditation on my first try in 10 days. Special case, special case. I'm not as good as you in other aspects. And it's really amazing that you could enter meditation on your first try in 10 days. Many famous masters only entered meditation on their first try in half a month." Lu Qing hurriedly comforted her. The two of them talked about various things that happened during the martial arts training. However, they neglected to ask about each other's progress. "You don't have to comfort me. Do I look like such a stingy person?" Yen Zhike laughed and dispelled her little depression. She nodded heavily and said, "From now on, you're my idol. It's rare to enter meditation in one day in the history of martial arts." "Don't. I can't accept it." Lu Qing was secretly proud. He modestly changed the topic. "What's your level now? I seem to remember that you didn't have a level when you signed up for the special training." It wasn't seemed, it was definitely. The two of them rowed tacitly. The boat slowly set sail. Yen Zhike thought for a while and said, "I learned martial arts from my uncle when I was a child. I should have reached the level of amateur 9th pin when I graduated from junior high school. But I didn't attend the ranking event. So I didn't have much time to practice in high school. According to Qing, I should be between amateur 7th and 8th pin when she first practiced with me. But after I got started with yin-yang stance, I think I've improved a lot. Qing said yesterday that I've reached amateur 6th pin." At the end of the sentence, her tone was slightly raised, showing a little pride and a little playfulness. "Awesome. You've improved by at least 1 pin in 3 weeks. I'll make you my idol." Lu Qing deliberately picked up Yen Zhike's words. According to Yen Zhike's experience, it was normal for her to reach amateur 4th or 5th pin when she entered the school if it weren't for the emphasis on learning in high school. The reason why she could improve by 1 pin in 3 weeks was that she had guided the accumulation and potential that she had but hadn't shown yet. It was totally different from Lu Qing, who had started out as a rookie in 3 weeks. Listening to Lu Qing's half-joking and half-sincere praise, Yen Zhike's cheeks reddened and her smile widened. But then she suddenly thought of something inside. Her expression was a little melancholy and gloomy. "What's wrong?" Lu Qing asked with concern. Yen Zhike didn't stop rowing. After a dozen seconds of silence, she said in a low voice, "According to the ancient saying, I'm congenitally deficient. If I hadn't practiced martial arts since I was a child, I'd probably be an invalid now. But my body is always damaged and can't be made up. I'll never be able to reach the level of Danqi and have a real glimpse of martial arts. So every time I see a young genius, I'm very envious and worship. It seems that I've put my expectation of martial arts on them." Listening to Yen Zhike's words, Lu Qing felt helpless and sad. His heart was suddenly filled with tenderness and pity. He wanted to say loudly, "Let me carry your dream of martial arts on my back." But some things were better done than said. Bragging now would only make her think that he was joking about this kind of thing. It was too frivolous. It wasn't until now that he understood why Yen Zhike worshipped Lin Kei like other girls, and why she said, "Everyone has their own future. It doesn't have to be martial arts." She was not only talking about him but also herself. Senior brother Li Mao, who practiced with me, said that I've reached the level of amateur 9th pin. He looked into Yen Zhike's eyes and said calmly and firmly. Yen Zhike was stunned. "You've reached the level of amateur 9th pin?" She knew clearly that 3 weeks ago, Lu Qing was just an ordinary person with no martial arts foundation. But after only 3 weeks he could become proficient in punching and kicking. Coupled with his talent of meditation, what level could he reach in 3 months, a year or a half? Senior brother Li Mao said so. Lu Qing said concisely. Yenjika stared at him, her eyes as dark as a deep pool. After a while she said in a low voice, "You have to do your best." "Okay." Lu Qing nodded heavily. While talking they didn't stop their movements. They cooperated well and soon caught up with Qiu Zhigao and Guqing. When they were about to pass by each other, Guqing suddenly raised the oar and splashed water at Lu Qing and Yenjika, forcing them to try to dodge and slow down the boat. "Qiu Zhigao, you row the boat. I'll stop them," Guqing said arrogantly. Yenjika was annoyed and amused. She looked at Lu Qing and asked, "Do you want to fight back?" Looking at the eagerness in her eyes and actions, Lu Qing said without hesitation, "Yes. You row the boat well." Yenjika bit her lip with a smile in her eyes. She also used the oar to raise waves. Lu Qing put on his jacket and focused on observing the changes of the boat and the waves. He rowed at the right time to offset the shaking caused by Yenjika's movements and kept the boat moving forward. As for old Qiu and Guqing, as long as Guqing made a big movement, the boat would inevitably shake, so she had to be careful. Both of them had learned the basics of yin-yang stance, so they had a good grasp of coordination. With a good cooperation they had an obvious advantage. Soon they overtook Guqing and old Qiu and caught up with the others, causing screams and splashes. They had a lot of fun, with continuous laughter and curses. When they overtook everyone they were the first to return to the starting point after circling the lake. Lu Qing and Yenjika looked at each other again and smiled. Again, I, Doraemon, am not satisfied." Kai Zongming and Yu Fangfang were the second to arrive and said exaggeratedly in online language. Round after round the girls had a lot of fun, but they were also tired. Seeing that the sun was setting, they suggested to go back early so that they wouldn't have to wait in line for the big meal in the evening. As for the cost, led by Lu Qing and Kai Zongming, the boys had already collected enough money. The boat stopped at the shore. Lu Qing, the long-distance runner without any fatigue, got off the boat easily and reached out his hand to Yenjika. At this time she was exhausted. She shouldn't have the strength to jump off directly, right? Lu Qing's heart beat faster, but Yenjika didn't feel bashful. She frankly grabbed his hand and got off the boat. At this moment, even though she had the advantage, she was splashed with a lot of water. Her hair was wet, with a few strands sticking to her cheeks, revealing an amazing beauty. It reminded people of the phrase, "A hibiscus comes out of clear water." "What's wrong?" Yenjika brushed the messy hair on her cheeks. Lu Qing thought for a while and smiled politely. "Every time I see a girl in a TV series with her hair still wet after washing, I think it's very beautiful." Yenjika's eyes were watery. She glanced at him. "I'm going to change first." Lu Qing suddenly understood. "That bag you're carrying is clothes?" "Yes, it's easy to get wet while rowing. How can I not bring a set of clothes to change?" Yenjika smiled. "A rough man like you probably can't think of this. I have a leather coat, so I'm not afraid of getting wet." Lu Qing wiped the water droplets on the short leather coat. "Smart, right?" Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and walked quickly to the storage area. Seeing her back disappear at the door of the female locker room, Lu Qing was overflowing with joy. He couldn't help but walk back and forth, unable to stop. After all the things that happened today, the politeness between him and Yenjika had completely disappeared. Her horizontal and white lines were the proof. Although there was still a long way to go before they could hold hands, at least their relationship had improved. After returning to the school through an online taxi, the group of 10 people went to the famous Old Li restaurant in the nearby town. The most famous dish here was the white kidney beans stewed with pig's feet soup. The soup was milky white and fragrant. The soft white kidney beans were full of all kinds of essences. It was the most delicious and made the girls hungry. After dinner, Lu Qing and the others strolled back to Songqing University. Along the way they talked about the embarrassing and stupid things they had done in the afternoon, which made them burst into laughter from time to time. When they arrived at the second building of the female dormitory, there was no awkward silence. Yenjika lived in the third building not far away. Lu Qing sent her off and said goodbye to her in front of the gate. "See you tomorrow for the special training." Lu Qing smiled and waved. Yenjika smiled faintly and waved her hand. "See you tomorrow." Seeing her enter the dormitory, Lu Qing knew that she would be busy taking a shower. Instead of chasing after Kai Zongming and the others, Lu Qing strolled to the lake. "I'm so happy today. If I don't exercise to vent, how can I sleep?" In the woods by the lake, Wu Dong, a senior member of the martial arts club, was drinking and smoking with 2 friends he had met in the society. The new campus of Songqing University was only free to enter and leave on weekends, except for express delivery. Ah, don't mention it recently. It's so damn depressing. Since Lin K came in, I can't stay in the martial arts club anymore. They don't even look at me. Wu Dong drank a mouthful of beer with a gloomy expression. A young man with a tattoo on his neck said, "You and Brother Chin can't beat him?" "I don't dare. We're about to graduate. How can we find a job if we get punished?" Wu Dong flattered himself. Suddenly, his eyes froze and he snorted. "What's wrong?" Another young man with a buzz cut followed Wu Dong's gaze and saw Lu Qing jogging towards them with a smile on his face. "A bastard from the martial arts club," Wu Dong said grumpily. The tattooed young man smiled. "Hey, what a coincidence. How about we teach him a lesson?" "That's not a good idea. You can run away, but what about me?" Wu Dong wanted to vent but didn't dare to. "Don't worry. We know what we're doing. Just teach him a lesson." The buzz-cut young man had nowhere to vent his energy. He was eager to try. "Students fight and don't get hurt. Who will tell the teacher for no reason? How about we go and you don't show up? P.S. It's Monday again. There's a chapter at midnight. Please recommend it." Chapter 19. Wu Dong had been holding a grudge for a long time. Encouraged by the buzz-cut young man, he nodded slowly after a few seconds of silence. "Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you." "Okay." The buzz-cut young man stood up and stretched his body. The tattooed young man put down the beer bottle and asked cautiously, "How's that guy? What amateur pin is he?" Wu Dong laughed. "Don't worry. He's just a rookie. He's not even an amateur 9th pin yet. You can beat him easily." The young man with the brush cut and the tattooed young man dropped out of school early and began to mingle in the underworld. They often got into fights, so they had some martial arts experience. In order to rise up, they deliberately befriended Qin Zhanghua and Wu Dong to learn proper martial arts. Over the past 2 years, although they ate, drank, gambled, and smoked a lot, they practiced diligently and often had practical practice. Both of them had reached the level of amateur 7th pin, so Wu Dong trusted them to teach Lu Qing a lesson. "Isn't it easy? I promise you'll be satisfied, Brother Dong." The buzz-cut young man laughed. The tattooed young man thought for a while and said, "Wait a minute. Which one of you can speak Northeastern Chinese? Teach me a few words." "What?" Wu Dong and the buzz-cut young man were both confused. The tattooed young man explained, "Songqing University is the best university in Songqing. It's famous all over the country. If we mess around here, it's easy to get into trouble. We know what we're doing, but we can't guarantee that accidents will happen, right? Maybe some professor or teacher will bump into us, right? It's dark now, so we can't see the faces clearly. I'll speak Northeastern Chinese later. If something really happens, they won't find us, right?" Yes. Wu Dong was most afraid that they would be found out and get him into trouble. The buzz-cut young man was puzzled. Which professor or teacher would come here in the dark? Isn't it nice to have a date with a female student in the dark? The tattooed young man answered with a lewd smile. Along the lakeside path, Lu Qing jogged to the place where he usually practiced his stance. Half of Weishui Lake was illuminated by the lights of the dormitory and teaching areas. It was as if a silver sea was hanging upside down. Every drop of light was dazzling. The other half was dark and quiet, with the occasional street light projection. At the edge of the lake was a place where a stone could arouse many pairs of wild mandarin ducks. Observing the surroundings was a martial artist's habit. After a period of hard practice, he had turned it into an instinct. While running, he saw 2 figures coming out of the woods by the lake, so he subconsciously looked at them. The tattooed young man immediately shouted, "What are you looking at?" "Nothing, I'm sorry." Lu Qing was stunned. He didn't expect that this could lead to a quarrel. He didn't want to cause more trouble, so he replied in a modest tone. Although practicing martial arts gave him courage and he had thought about the scene of a hero rescuing a beauty, when it really happened, his usual character and habits took over. Moreover, Geezer Sure had said that modern society was a legal society. Being brave and fierce was not a good thing. As a martial artist, he was not afraid of trouble, but he should try not to cause trouble. "Motherf *Ker, how dare you talk nonsense?" The tattooed young man only learned a few words in a hurry and didn't dare to say more. He signaled the buzz-cut young man to block Lu Qing's way and moved himself to cut off his escape route. Lu Qing was not a fool. The other's aggressive behavior was soon reflected in his mind. He made a judgment in his heart. They are here to cause trouble. And judging from their footwork, they were obviously at the level of amateur 9th pin or above. Ordinary people practice martial arts and don't pay attention to footwork. If they can keep their footwork in a fight, they must be martial artists. The two of them were not far from each other, the kind of distance where they could start a fight immediately after cursing. Seeing that the young man's palm was about to hit his face in the next second, Lu Qing suddenly dodged to the side, quickened his pace and ran into the woods with a whoosh. Ran into the woods, ran away, ran away. The buzz-cut young man and the tattooed young man looked at each other, stunned for a moment. Did he just King run away? According to their experience when encountering a verbal conflict, everyone would first try to explain or argue. Even if there was a possibility of a fight, the coward's reaction would be to beg for mercy, while the hot-blooded and brave guy would try to fight until it was obvious that he couldn't win. Who would have thought that the guy just now would run faster than a rabbit without even saying a few words? *CK. Run. Let's see where you can run to. The two came to their senses, spat and ran quickly to catch up with Lu Qing. The muscles on their faces were twisted and hideous, a little embarrassed. Lu Qing didn't dare to stop because of the hurried footsteps behind him. He passed through the sparse woods by the lake. Relying on his familiarity with the terrain, he soon arrived at the road outside the woods, which was the place where he usually practiced his endurance. This road led to the teaching area on one side and extended to the small hill of the school on the other side. The hill was not very high, only about 10 meters high. It was more appropriate to call it hill because the biggest library in Songqing was built there. The road circled around the hill and went straight to the vast western area that was still under construction. Lu Qing turned and ran to the hill. The buzz-cut young man and the tattooed young man ran through the woods. Seeing Lu Qing running to the hill, they were both delighted. This guy is running away in a panic. If he had run to the teaching area, they wouldn't have dared to make trouble for him. But now they would give him a good massage later. When the two ran through the woods, Wu Dong, who was waiting for a good show, couldn't sit still. He was afraid that they would lose their temper and make a big mess, which would involve him. He hurriedly followed behind and tried to catch up with them. The buzz-cut young man and the tattooed young man, who lived a life of eating, drinking, whoring, gambling and smoking, soon began to pant. The distance between them and Lu Qing widened little by little. They gradually felt like giving up in their hearts. *CK. Thinking of the time when I ran 5 streets in one breath. At this moment they found that Lu Qing in front of them had also slowed down. They looked at each other and smiled with excitement and cruelty in their eyes. We can't run anymore and this guy can't run anymore. Hold on a little longer. When we catch up we'll teach him a lesson. Mustering their remaining courage, they circled around the hill and arrived at the West District, which was still a wasteland. As they chased, the distance between them gradually closed. However, after running for a while, the young man with the buzz cut could no longer hold on. He stopped and panted heavily. You're right. *CK huff *CK this guy *CK he's too good at running. The tattooed young man ran 2 more steps and couldn't take it anymore. He bent down and put his hands on his knees, watching Lu Qing's figure getting farther and farther away. I can't. He spoke like a bellows, his chest heaving violently. Wu Dong also caught up at this time. He was gasping for breath and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. Seeing that the two had stopped moving forward, he heaved a sigh of relief. He stopped not far away and repeatedly retched. It seemed that he was almost out of breath. Forget it, there's no need to waste time. Smoking hurt the lungs which controlled the breath. After running for such a long distance, Wu Dong felt a little dizzy. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly froze. In the darkness ahead, he saw a figure running back through the desolation. It was Lu Qing. You. The tattooed young man and the buzz-cut young man gasped in astonishment. How dare this guy run back? They looked at Lu Qing and saw that his face was as usual and his breathing was steady. There was no sign that he had run for such a long distance. What the *CK, what kind of monster is this? The buzz-cut young man and the tattooed young man suddenly felt a sense of horror. Looking at the 3 of them who were gasping for breath and distancing themselves from each other, Lu Qing smiled without saying a word. Suddenly he took a step forward and threw a punch. The power under his feet was transmitted to his waist and back, leading to his fist. He gathered all the power in his body and hit the buzz-cut youth in the middle of his chest with a mighty force. The buzz-cut young man was about to dodge and counterattack, but his hands and feet were so sore that he almost couldn't catch his breath. He was too slow and was directly hit by Lu Qing's punch. Bam! In the muffled sound, the buzz-cut young man was hit in the middle of his chest. The pain in his bones made him almost stop breathing and he took 2 steps back. Lu Qing's footwork was not messed up. he followed closely and pressed on his 2 shoulders. Then he tripped him and threw him toward the tattooed young man who was besieging him. The tattooed young man, who was also weak in arms and legs, staggered. Of course, Lu Qing wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He took a step forward, twisted his waist and kicked the tattooed young man's left shin. Ah! The tattooed young man screamed. Although his bones weren't broken, he was in so much pain that he hugged his leg and rolled on the ground. Like the buzz-cut young man who was almost out of breath, he lost his ability to fight for a short time. After getting rid of them, Lu Qing looked at Wu Dong, who was struggling to come closer, and said with a smile, "So it's senior brother Wu who wants to teach me a lesson. Then I have no choice but to ask for your advice." Wu Dong looked gloomy and panted. I'm tired, but you're not tired? We're the same. I'm an amateur second pin master. Who do you think you are? Sorry, I'm not tired. Lu Qing calmly got into a fighting posture with an eager look in his eyes. Although Wu Dong was an amateur second pin master, his master had told him that his body had been hollowed out by smoking and drinking. Now he was tired, weak in arms and legs, and had difficulty breathing. If he didn't dare to challenge and fight in this condition, what was the point of learning martial arts and practicing boxing? P.S. Please recommend me to the homepage. Chapter 20. Without saying anything, Lu Qing lowered his center of gravity and stepped forward, pouncing on Wu Dong from both sides. Lu Qing had only been practicing martial arts for 3 weeks, so he had only mastered the basic movements and simple moves to the point where he could use them in actual combat. He hadn't had time to learn the more complicated moves. But humans were different from animals because they were good at observing and imitating. In the face of Wu Dong, who was much stronger than him, he instinctively wanted to do better. In his mind, the footwork of Qin Zhanghua during the fight with Lin Kei suddenly appeared. Qin Zhanghua moved forward, crisscrossed, and attacked like a terrifying poisonous snake. Compared to Qin Zhanghua, Lu Qing was obviously not as proficient and detailed in this footwork. But he had been practicing the yin-yang stance for a long time, so his body coordination was quite good and his spirit was highly concentrated. Under the condition of half meditation, he could easily and subtly adjust his center of gravity. When he stepped to the left, his center of gravity was slightly to the right. When he stepped to the right, his center of gravity was slightly to the left. It was hard for Lu Qing to distinguish his real target. Even Wu Dong, who had been practicing martial arts for many years, felt that this was a thorny problem. In the past, when he was sparring with Qin Zhanghua, he was still able to see some clues when facing this snake steps, and make a prediction. But now, when this kid, whose footwork was obviously not practiced enough, pounced on him, he was unable to give a definite answer. Just when he thought that his real target was indeed to the right, the next thought swayed to the left. Is he really a rookie who has only been practicing martial arts for 3 weeks? Is he a guy who pretends to be weak? Hesitation was the most taboo in a fight. Wu Dong was experienced in actual combat and had participated in several amateur ranking events, so he naturally understood this principle and always followed it. But at this moment there was not much he could do. Under normal circumstances, if he couldn't judge whether the snake steps was real or not, he could still use his footwork and move around, which was his strength. But after chasing for such a long distance, his legs were sore and his breathing was not smooth, so he couldn't use his strength. If he continued to move around, it would be suicide. Alas, I can only stay on the defensive. Wu Dong took a stance and didn't react hastily. In the face of this, Lu Qing was a little happy in his heart because this was the situation he had envisioned when he first planned. He didn't expect it to actually come true. At first, he didn't notice that Wu Dong was chasing after him. He just wanted to use his strongest long-distance running ability to wear down the 2 hooligans who were deliberately causing trouble, and take advantage of their weak state to strike back. When he noticed Wu Dong, he deliberately slowed down to lure them to run more so that he could squeeze their strength as much as possible. But his master had said that Wu Dong's body was exhausted by smoking, drinking, and playing, so the function of his lungs must be severely reduced. When his strength reached the limit, it would be difficult for him to take a breath in a short time. Under such circumstances, Wu Dong, who was known for his agility, dexterity, guerrilla warfare, and sneak attacks, would not be able to display his strengths at all. He would be forced to defend his position just like what was happening right now. Shifting his center of gravity and taking a step forward, Lu Qing suddenly flashed to Wu Dong's right side. Exerting strength from his feet, he channeled all his strength through his spine to his right hand. Then, as if he was holding an iron hammer, he clenched his fist and smashed down viciously at Wu Dong. Whoosh! The punch was so fierce that Wu Dong couldn't tell whether the snake steps was real or not, so his reaction was a bit late. But he firmly defended his position and fought inside with both hands, so the distance he covered was significantly shorter than Lu Qing. He was able to block Lu Cheng's right fist in time. When the two collided, Lu Qing didn't feel that Wu Dong had the upper hand in strength. He suddenly realized that Wu Dong was indeed still gasping for breath and couldn't exert all his strength. Even though he was a master of amateur second pin, he was still at a disadvantage. Lu Qing took a step forward with his right foot and blocked in front of Wu Dong's legs to prevent him from exerting his footwork. His left hand used the force of his right fist to block Wu Dong's right hand, and punched directly at Wu Dong's abdomen with abrupt force. Wu Dong couldn't dodge, so he had to take the blow head-on. With a bang, their bodies met. Lu Qing exerted strength in his feet, slightly leaned to one side, and lowered his elbow to hit Wu Dong again. He had to take advantage of Wu Dong's current condition and force him to fight in close quarters, which was his weakness and his current fatal problem. If he couldn't catch his breath, the result would be clear. If he fought on the move, he would give Wu Dong a chance to catch his breath. Bang bang bang. They exchanged several blows. Wu Dong had been practicing martial arts for many years and was very experienced, so he didn't show any flaws. Lu Qing blocked Wu Dong's attack again with both hands, but he was keenly aware that Wu Dong's body was swaying slightly. This was like a rock that had finally loosened under a violent storm. Wu Dong couldn't catch up with his strength. Lu Qing lowered his waist and adjusted his body's fine details. He quickly adjusted his center of gravity and threw out another punch. Bang! Wu Dong's stance was broken by the punch and he staggered back. But he was smart enough to not give Lu Qing a chance to pounce on him again. He rolled to the side to avoid the punch. Seeing Wu Dong rolling on the ground, Lu Qing felt a little happy. He had forced Wu Dong, an amateur second pin, to this point. Victory was at hand. He closed the distance with a sliding step, and was about to give Wu Dong a whip kick like Lin Ke did. At this moment, Wu Dong narrowed his eyes and grabbed a handful of dirt behind him with his left hand. He threw it at Lu Qing. Lu Qing didn't expect this at all. Seeing the dirt flying at him, he closed his eyes subconsciously, put his left hand in front of his face and tried to move sideways. But he was in a hurry. Some dirt got into his eyes, making them sore and painful. He couldn't open them for a while. His mind was in a mess and he was at his wit's end. Bang! Lu Qing felt a pain in his back as he was punched. He lost his balance and fell forward. The familiar situation and experience made him calm down instinctively. He adjusted his body and tried to change his center of gravity. When one calmed down, one's mind would be clear. Lu Qing recovered from the fall and realized that he was at a disadvantage because of his lack of combat experience. Now he had to stay calm and not let Wu Dong take advantage of the situation to attack him. The Jindan rotated slowly, the nebula contracted and expanded, and the muscles in his body adjusted harmoniously. Lu Qing staggered a few steps and regained his balance. At the same time, he changed his direction with every step, narrowly avoiding the attack behind him. Lu Qing found that he still couldn't open his eyes. He couldn't stop his tears as if he had been beaten. He was surrounded by darkness and didn't know where Wu Dong would come from. What was more frightening was that he didn't dare to make a big scene. He didn't attack the vital parts of the short-haired young man and the tattooed young man. It wouldn't take long for them to recover their basic combat strength. Calm down. Calm down. Lu Qing made a decision. He visualized the form of condensing water to ice in his mind. He felt that all kinds of distracting thoughts were frozen and his senses became very sharp. Condensing water stance of the ice sect. Everything seemed to be quiet. Contrary to the yin-yang stance, the condensing water stance focused on the outside. He could hear the sound of wind and footsteps, and the air was filled with a faint smell of alcohol. Lu Qing vaguely sensed that someone was coming from his left through his ears, body, and other senses. He remained calm and raised his hands slightly, as if he was making a defensive move and waiting for his eyes to recover. Lu Qing suddenly changed his visualization when the heavy breathing entered his ears. He visualized a scene in his mind where a silver-white lightning struck a tree and ignited a flame in an instant. Lightning and fire stance of the thunder sect. As soon as the lightning and fire appeared, Lu Qing's muscles wriggled naturally. He felt his tailbone go numb and his body sink as if he was struck by lightning. Then a hot current surged out from his spine and closed all the pores all over his body. It was like a prairie fire that completed a terrible outbreak in an instant. It burned through his waist and back to his left leg. His left leg looked normal, but it suddenly tightened and kicked sideways without warning. Bang! Lu Qing felt that he had kicked something solid and vaguely felt bone under his foot. Then he heard a cry of pain and the sound of someone falling to the ground. Stun. He kept calm and didn't put down his defensive posture. He just rubbed his eyes, and with the help of his tears, the dust finally flowed out and restored his vision. From blurred to clear, Lu Qing saw Wu Dong rolling in pain on his left side as if he had kicked him in the thigh. The brush-cut young man and the tattooed young man had just recovered but were still unable to stand up. Phew. A real battle is really different from a pair practice. Lu Qing secretly heaved a sigh of relief and felt a pain in his back. If it weren't for his yin-yang stance that had reached the realm of inward vision with the help of the Jin Dan, the condensation stance that had improved his senses and attention, and the lightning and fire stance that had a terrible outbreak in an instant, he would have been beaten by the experienced Wu Dong. The yin-yang stance, the lightning and fire stance, and the condensation stance seemed to be easy to master. However, as the basic stances of the Thunder sect and the Ice sect, they had their own difficulties. That was how to meditate, how to visualize, and what to visualize. Without any explanation or guidance, even if one was given a complete introduction, only 1 out of 1,000 people would be able to successfully master the stances according to the description. Among them, the yin-yang stance was the foundation. It didn't limit what to visualize but taught how to enter meditation, how to visualize, how to hold the spirit, and how to guard one. Even so, after Geezer Shur had taught him on the first day, he had spent 3 weeks guiding and correcting his mistakes. However, until now, it seemed that only he and Yan Zhika had mastered the yin-yang stance. Even Guoqing, Li Mao, and Sun Jian couldn't do it. As for Lin Ke, it seemed that he had practiced it before. After today's thrilling and fierce battle, his stance and fighting style had finally crossed the threshold and started to integrate into one. However, he still couldn't judge the specific level of his strength. After relaxing, Lu Qing suddenly felt scared. Just now, he had been reckless and wanted to try a real battle. When his qi and blood had calmed down, he was worried about how to clean up the mess. Fighting was punishable by punishment. If he didn't know how to control his strength, he would have no choice but to cry behind bars. Fortunately, Zhang Xian had controlled his strength and didn't aim for Wu Dong's vitals. Only when he kicked Wu Dong was he unable to control it because he couldn't see. However, seeing Wu Dong stop rolling and rubbing his leg, Zhang Xian didn't think it was a big deal. It's true that heroes break the rules with their martial arts. Lu Qing suppressed his worries and kept calm. He thought for a while and smiled at Wu Dong. "Senior brother Wu, you're about to graduate from your senior year, right?" Wu Dong covered his leg and looked up at Lu Qing in surprise. He felt that the freshman in front of him was very calm and had pointed out his weakness with one sentence. He didn't see any trace of worry at all. Then he thought of Lu Qing's sneaky kick and his calmness when he couldn't open his eyes. He suddenly felt like he didn't know him at all. Under his gaze, he couldn't help but look away. Chapter 21. Was this still the same inexperienced freshman? Was this the same guy who was so flustered during the sparring session 3 weeks ago? For the first time, Wu Dong doubted his own brain. Students who could enter Songqing University before the special recruitment of martial arts were all intelligent. However, the contradiction between what he knew and what he saw now made him feel like his cognitive world had been turned upside down. Could it be that he was dreaming? Seeing that Wu Dong was shocked by his words, Lu Qing exhaled quietly and pretended to be profound. The on-campus recruitment will begin in October. Senior brother Wu, you're still in the mood to deal with 2 hooligans. But I still have to thank you for your guidance just now. It helped me improve my martial arts. The on-campus recruitment was a job fair on campus. It was usually held in the first half of the senior year. When it came to the next semester, the number of job fairs would decrease sharply. Most of the time, one would have to rely on the internet to find a job. Lu Qing's hidden meaning was that this matter would be treated as a martial arts competition. Neither of them would spread the news, and Wu Dong would have to focus on finding a job in the on-campus recruitment. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, Wu Dong would have to bear more responsibility if he fought back with 2 hooligans on campus. Wu Dong might even be praised by the school for fighting back after being bullied by the hooligans. At most, he would be punished. Wu Dong's face was gloomy. After a long time he said, "Junior brother Lu, the new generation is replacing the old. I'm just giving you some guidance. Don't worry too much." As a martial artist, he often came into contact with similar things. His tone was inevitably similar to that of the ancient times. "I still have to thank you, senior brother Wu." Seeing that Wu Dong gave in, Lu Qing smiled and cupped his hands. He glanced at the tattooed young man and the buzz-cut young man and started to run again. As for the 2 gangsters, Lu Qing didn't think it was a big deal. Lu Qing didn't think it was a big problem at all. Songqing was the best university in the country. If gangsters dared to bring people to break into the school and bully students, they must be tired of living. If they wanted to block him outside the school unless they didn't want to make a living, they would keep an eye on the school every day. Who would take a fight as revenge for the murder of their father? Once the hot blood was over, there would only be trouble when they met by chance. Seeing that Lu Cheng's footsteps were light and light as he started running again, sweeping past them like a gust of wind, the short-haired youth and the tattooed youth looked at each other, dumbfounded. F***ck, he can still F***king run. The young man with the brush cut looked as if he had seen a flying saucer. This is a monster. The tattooed young man rubbed his eyes. Once again a sense of fear rose in their hearts. It was the fear of an inhuman. Back in the dormitory, Lu Qing didn't want to line up in the bathroom, so he took a cold shower in the bathroom. Their dormitory's toilets had water pipes, shower heads and washing machines, all of which were provided by Qin Mo, the rich second generation. However, he had only used them once and was rarely seen. As for the problem of the counselor's inspection, Lu Qing had only seen the counselor 4 times in class meetings since school started 2 months ago. He had never encountered one in the dormitory. Anyway, the new campus was a closed management system, so there wouldn't be any major problems. He could just leave it to the class committee. After changing his clothes and drying his hair, Lu Qing walked out of the bathroom and bumped into Kai Zongming, who was watching a martial arts live broadcast in the living room. Hey Qing, where did you go just now? Why are you only back now? Don't tell me you got it? Did you go to the woods? Kai Zongming winked at him with a gossipy expression. Lu Qing thought for a while and asked back, what do you think? I think the revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrades still need to work hard. Your goddess isn't easy to woo. Otherwise you wouldn't have had a chance. But as long as you work hard, even an iron rod can be ground into a needle. If you keep up your performance today, there's still hope. In reality, it's like a flower stuck in cow dung. A blind cat will meet a dead mouse. Kai Zongming encouraged and teased him. Lu Qing glared at him and walked to the simple sofa to sit down. When he was about to lean on the sofa, he felt a sharp pain in his back, which made him gasp. Wudong's attack was really not bad. Little Ming helped me rub the bruise, Lu Qing said as he got up and walked to his dormitory. He had to ask for help for the bruise on his back. Kai Zongming was confused. You didn't force yourself on her and get beaten up by your goddess, did you? What the hell are you thinking about? Lu Qing said grumpily. In the dormitory, Zhao Chang and Zhuang Xiaojun were on the same boat today. They had a good chat and were trying to calm down while doing homework. Zhang Jingye got Pan Shui's QQ and chatted with her while watching a movie. He also asked about the interesting things in their dormitory. Qiu Zhigao stood by the window and looked at the street lights outside, deep in thought. Lu Qing held back his laughter and took the bottle of ointment from Yan Zhika. He returned to the living room and handed it to Kai Zongming. He sat down and took off his t-shirt, revealing the bruise on his back. What the hell? What did you do? Kai Zongming was confused and surprised. Didn't I send Yan Zhika back to her dormitory? Thinking about the progress today, I was so excited and happy that I couldn't calm down at all. So I went to the lakeside to practice my stance. Lu Qing didn't hide anything and told his friend what had happened just now. Kai Zongming unscrewed the bottle cap and laughed. You and Chang are brothers, right? One needs to do homework to calm down, and the other needs to practice his stance by the lakeside. Haha, not only are the feelings of young girls poetic, but so are the feelings of young men. Erotic poems. Lu Qing ignored his teasing and said, then I met 3 hooligans and had a fight. No wonder. Kai Zongming poured the ointment on his hand and applied it to the bruise on Lu Qing's back. You're so brave after learning martial arts. You didn't suffer any losses, right? A trace of coolness entered the wound and relieved the pain. Lu Qing narrowed his eyes comfortably and said, no, I beat all 3 of them down. Wow, you're awesome, my brother. You've only been learning martial arts for 3 weeks. Did Geezer sure secretly teach you some unique moves? Kai Zongming put the glass bottle on the sofa and rubbed the ointment hard, making Lu Qing grimace. Do you know which school and which department those hooligans are from? We can't let them go so easily. Wu Dong from the martial arts club. Lu Qing coughed lightly and said casually. Wu Dong from the martial arts club? Then let's call old Qiu and go find them. Wu Dong from the martial arts club? Wu Dong from the senior year? Kai Zongming raised his voice and lost control of his strength. Lu Qing almost jumped up from the pain. Damn, I shouldn't have pretended to be tough at this time. Lu Qing regretted deeply. Yes, that Wu Dong who recruited us into the club. Kai Zongming stopped and said, Qing, I don't study much. Don't lie to me. If you can beat Wudong, I'll beat Lin Ke. Lu Qing hid his pride and said, it's true. Wudong is addicted to smoking and drinking. He's half disabled. When I saw the three of them, I turned around and ran. But when I ran, I found that they couldn't straighten their backs and started to pant, so I went back. But Wudong is really good. He almost beat me down in this situation. Kai Zongming suddenly understood and continued rubbing the ointment on Lu Cheng's bruise. I knew it. You can't beat Wudong in a normal fight. But to be able to beat him and the other two hooligans in this situation, you must be at least of amateur ninth pin, right? Senior brother Li Mao said I'm almost there, Lu Qing answered frankly. 3 weeks of amateur ninth pin. Kai Zongming was silent for a while and then pretended to exaggerate. Coach, I want to join the special training too. Lu Qing smiled and said, you'd better continue to be a talker, a career with a bright future. Kai Zongming sighed while rubbing Lu Cheng's bruise. Actually, I'm really surprised to see you make such great progress. I'm also a little touched to see you working so hard for the martial arts competition dream. The last time I was so serious was when I was chasing after my current girlfriend. You want to come? Lu Qing looked at the TV in front of him. It was a professional martial arts competition between Shizhou sect and Guanwai League. Both of them belonged to the highest level and were good at physical martial arts. One side of their bodies was shining with a metallic luster, while the other side had a strong recovery ability. Their injuries were healed in the blink of an eye. Kai Zongming laughed dryly. I'm just saying. But I'm still reluctant to sleep in and play games. Then how did you practice martial arts in the past? Lu Qing couldn't imagine how Kai Zongming had persevered in the past. Kai Zongming rubbed away the effect of the medicine and patted Lu Cheng's back. He praised, you're strong and elastic now. At that time, the son of the richest man in our small rundown city was kidnapped. After extorting a sum of money, he was killed. Everyone was in a panic. My family's financial situation was not bad. My parents were very worried and sent me to the martial arts center to practice martial arts. During those years, the martial arts center in our city earned a lot of money. You need someone to supervise you before you can practice martial arts. By the way, did you catch the kidnappers? Lu Qing asked curiously. Of course they did. The martial arts administration of the police department sent people down and blocked them on the mountain. They shot them to death. It was said that their bodies were broken. Kai Zongming talked about the past in his hometown. While chatting, Lu Qing logged into QQ and sent a smiley face to Yenjika. I had a lot of fun today. Thousands of words, tens of thousands of words, excitement and happiness were all condensed into this one sentence. When the martial arts competition ended and Shizhou sect won by a narrow margin, Lu Qing returned to the small dormitory. Yenjika replied with the same smiley face. Me too. These 3 short words made Lu Qing feel a little warm. Yenjika continued to send messages. I was watching the Shizhou sect's competition just now. The Lion King is still as powerful as when we were young. The Lion King Shang Yud was the top expert of the Shizhou sect. He was nearly 50 years old and was a great master in Lu Cheng's childhood memory. He had won 6 titles including the Lion King. What a coincidence. I was watching it too. But I only saw half of it. I had a practice match with someone by the lake. Lu Qing couldn't wait to share the actual combat experience with Yenjika. Because of her own regrets, she was a fanatical martial arts competition enthusiast. She should be interested in this kind of thing, right? Chapter 22. Yenjika replied quickly, Practice? Are you hurt? It was followed by a stunned emoji. Seeing that Yenjika's first reaction was to care whether he was hurt or not, Lu Qing felt warm in his heart and couldn't help but smile. His fingers moved quickly and he added a smiling emoji. I'm fine. There's just a bruise on my back. I asked little Ming to apply the medicine bottle you gave me and rub it open. I have to say, that medicine bottle is really good. Of course I have good taste. Yenjika sent a proud emoji. Why did you go to the lakeside? Didn't we just say goodbye to each other? Was it a practice or a fight? Lu Qing saw her curiosity and didn't want her to misunderstand him as a bad boy who liked to fight. He quickly replied, I was so happy today that I wanted to do a steak by the lakeside to calm down. You're so funny. Yenjika replied. Lu Qing continued, but when I arrived at the lakeside, I met 2 punks who deliberately provoked me. I didn't want to talk to them, but they surrounded me directly. There was an acquaintance behind them. An acquaintance? Yenjika sent a cute emoji with a question mark above its head. Yes, an acquaintance, Wu Dong from the martial arts club. Lu Qing didn't keep her guessing. Wu Dong? Then how did you beat them? Are you really okay? Yen Jika didn't send an emoji this time, but a series of questions. I'm fine. If I was, would I still be here talking with you? Lu Qing said humorously. Yen Jika sent her most common dumbfounded emoji. Then what happened? Wu Dong is an expert of amateur second pin. You didn't get hurt in the fight with him? Of course I couldn't beat them. Judging from their footwork, they should be of amateur 8th or 9th pin. At that time, I only had one thought in my mind. Lu Qing deliberately kept her guessing. Conversation was about interaction. What thought? Yen Jika sent a curious emoji. Of the 36 stratagems, the best strategy is to run away. If you can't beat them, run away. Lu Qing sent a laughing emoji. It was too late. Before they surrounded me, I ran to the lakeside woods. Yen Jika sent a cute emoji of Ultraman and Little Monster eating ice cream side by side. You're so smart. Then how did the fight start? You've been caught? You flatter me. After running for a while, I arrived at the foot of the library hill. I was going to ask for help from the teachers and security guards, but I found Wu Dong and the other two running so fast that they were out of breath. The distance between them was getting wider and wider. At that time I thought to myself, if they are so tired that they can't even straighten their backs and their limbs are so weak that they can't exert any strength, maybe I can give it a try and get some real combat experience? In this part, he slightly modified the idea of a real battle and changed it to that of being chased for a while. He didn't want Yen Jika to have the impression that he was a troublemaker. After the teenage years, many girls would not have a good impression of a troublemaker. Well, what happened next? Yen Jika urged him with a blinking expression. After that, I changed my mind. I went around the library hill and ran into West Borough. I even deliberately slowed down so that they wouldn't stop chasing after me. Lu Qing told the story bit by bit, leaving hooks to arouse Yen Jika's interest. When they stopped and were out of breath, I immediately turned around and ran back. They were so tired. Didn't you feel anything? Yen Jika sent an emoji with a blinking question mark above its head. Hehe, to tell you the truth, I'm a long-distance runner with good endurance. I just kept a low profile in high school. Lu Qing boasted. Okay. Yen Jika didn't say much about this. She sent an emoji with blinking eyes. After you ran back, the first thing you dealt with was those two punks? Yes, you're so smart. Lu Qing was not stingy with his compliments. Everyone likes compliments as long as it's not exaggerated or melodramatic. Therefore, when chatting with girls, you should be willing to give compliments when you have the chance. If you don't have the chance, then create one. Of course, there are some masochists who need to be attacked and ridiculed. Nothing is absolute in this world. Yen Jika sent an emoji with a blushing face. Lu Qing continued, I was worried that those two punks might have knives or daggers, so I dealt with them first. Besides, they were much weaker than Wu Dong. In gaming terms, I was clearing the field so that I wouldn't be involved in a chaotic battle. I don't have much experience, so I would be at a disadvantage. He explained in detail because he felt that with Yen Jika's hobby, she would be happy to hear the details of actual combat and the specific psychological activities. I think so too. Yen Jika sent a slightly complacent emoji. Great minds think alike. Lu Qing praised again. Those two punks were indeed out of breath and had no strength in their hands and feet. I stepped forward and punched one of them, knocking him down and almost suffocating. Then I threw him to the other one, followed by a whip kick to the other one's face bone, making them temporarily unable to fight. After that, I began to speak and formally challenged Wu Dong. What do you think is the best way to fight at this moment? Yen Jika sent a contemplative emoji. Wu Dong's strength is not strong, but his advantage is flexibility and agility. When he's tired, it's better to fight at close range so that he won't have time to rest. Yes, smart. That's what I think. Also, Coach Sure once told me that smoking is bad for Wu Dong's health and he is already half disabled. If I put a little more pressure on him, he probably won't be able to catch his breath. So I imitated the snake steps and approached him. I kept fighting at close range. After a few moves, his lower body became weak and his stance was broken by me. He could only roll away to avoid my attacks. And then? How did the injury on your back come about? Yen Jika asked, with eyes and question marks flashing in her emoji. With a smile on his face, Lu Qing lay on his side on the bed. At that time, I wanted to take advantage of the situation and attack, but Wu Dong grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at my eyes. I didn't expect this at all, so I could only turn sideways to protect my eyes. Some sand got into my eyes so I couldn't open them. Yenjika immediately sent a cat emoji of, I'm so scared that I dropped my dried fish. And then? How did you turn the tables? You couldn't open your eyes but you only got hit by one punch. I was very flustered at that time. Fortunately, I turned sideways and only got hit on my back. But I also lost my center of gravity. Relying on the yin-yang stance, I barely managed to adjust my center of gravity and didn't fall. After a few big steps, I steadied myself. During these big steps, I was also constantly changing my center of gravity and direction. That's why I didn't get hit by Wu Dong's consecutive attacks. Lu Qing enjoyed his feelings at that time. After I steadied myself, I was surrounded by darkness. I couldn't see anyone and I was inexplicably scared and panicked. Fortunately, Coach Sure found that I was talented in stance training and secretly taught me the condensation stance of the ice sect and the lightning and fire stance of the thunder sect. The condensation stance calms the mind and sharpens the senses. It's really suitable for this kind of blind battle. Yenjika sent a relieved emoji. She had a solid understanding of all aspects of martial arts. Lu Qing sent a proud smile emoji. Relying on the condensation stance, I regained my calmness. I heard Wu Dong's deliberate footsteps and smelled the smell of alcohol on his body. But I pretended not to notice it and deliberately defended in a daze. When I was sure that he was beside me from all aspects such as heavy breathing, I suddenly changed to the lightning and fire stance and attacked him first. I kicked him so hard that he was rolling on the ground and couldn't get up for a short time. Wonderful. I think it's even more wonderful than tonight's match. Yenjika sent a naughty dog emoji. Qing, maybe you can really be my idol in the future. Lu Qing held back his pride and happiness. Don't praise me like that. I'll be proud. By the way, do you have any actual combat experience? When chatting with girls, you should know how to ask questions. You may not be able to get the point by yourself. So the best way is to let the other party talk. No matter what the topic is, as long as it's from you, I'll like to hear it. Of course, there are techniques to asking questions. Asking questions like checking a household register is the most embarrassing and annoying. Meh. Yenjika sent a pondering emoji with wind blowing by. I haven't participated in the amateur ranking event. I only have 2 actual combat experiences. The first time was when I was in the 3rd year of junior high school and got home late. Not long after I left school, I was suddenly patted on the back. I was so scared that I subconsciously threw the person behind me. Only after I fell did I realize it was my dad. He saw that I was late and came to school to pick me up. He said that his life was full of bad karma. When he was young, he was thrown by my mom, and when he was middle-aged, he was thrown by me. Dad, please forgive me for being unfilial. I want to be like that too. I really envy my father-in-law. Lu Qing thought to himself shamelessly and played along. You'll get used to it soon. What about the second time? The second time was when I accompanied my best friend to meet a scumbag. He used my best friend's savings as a student and had a foot in 2 boats at the same time. When we arrived there, the mistress wanted to beat him up, but the scumbag still protected her. I was so angry that my lungs were about to explode, so I beat them up. They have some martial arts foundation, so it can be considered as actual combat. Yenjika sent an angry emoji. What a scumbag. He should be castrated. Lu Qing took the side of his female comrade without hesitation. Your best friend was blind. I didn't expect you to be a heroine. Once the topic started, they talked until 10:30 without any awkward silence. Lu Qing said goodnight with great perseverance and fell asleep happily. The next day by the lake, Lu Qing couldn't hold back his pride and impulse to show off. He said to Geezer Shi, Master, I beat Wu Dong last night. Geezer Shi raised his eyebrows. Beat Wu Dong? You must have relied on your abnormal endurance to beat him until he was out of breath, right? Oh, he saw through me. Lu Qing didn't know what to say. I can figure it out even with my toes. You can show off in front of me when you can beat Wu Dong in the martial arts arena and become the main force of the martial arts club. Geezer Shi said proudly. As for this year's national martial arts competition, you'd better be a logistics support or a cheerleader. Watch and observe more. Lu Qing was not surprised or disappointed. After all, he had only practiced martial arts for 3 weeks. Speaking of which, Master, the martial arts competition will be held next weekend, right? Yes, and this year's opening ceremony will be held at Songqing University. There will be a first pin expert as a guest. Geezer Shi said. Oh, who is it? Lu Qing asked excitedly. This was not only his own curiosity, but also a topic to talk about with Yenjika. Geezer Shi smiled. It's not a titled expert. It's Liang Yifan from Shanghai. Him? Good. I also admire him a lot. Lu Qing said happily. Liang Yifan was a martial artist who was a late bloomer. When he was young, he could only practice ordinary martial arts and was a sparring partner in the martial arts club. At 22 years old, he was only of amateur second pin, even worse than Qin Zhanghua of the martial arts club. But even so, he was gradually honed and recognized. He broke the rule of no hope for the rest of your life if you can't reach physical invulnerability before 30, and stepped into the top 3 pin at 32 years old. He was an ordinary and steady man who cherished family ties. For martial arts enthusiasts like Lu Qing, Liang Yifan was the template of their fantasies. Late bloomers are exactly like us. Chapter 23. Worship. Geezer sure smacked his lips as if he disdained Lu Cheng's idea. When you can defeat the martial artist you worship, that's the greatest respect you can show them. Worship? Respect? Then defeat him? Hearing Geezer Sher's words, Lu Cheng's heart was set ablaze. It was the flame of ambition, not YY but ambition. Can I? Can I really? The flame made Lu Cheng tremble slightly. He completely forgot about the pride he had after defeating Wu Dong with his wits, adaptability, and strength. He changed the topic and said, Master, do you think we can enter the national final in this martial arts competition? The National University Martial Arts Competition was divided into 8 divisions. The top 2 of each division would enter the final circle and finish the competition in one place. The division competition was held from November to January and the national final was held in May. Geezer sure rolled his eyes and said, Do you think I'm a god? You want to enter the top 2 after only 1 month of special training? But Lin Ke will join us. Lu Cheng's voice became weaker and weaker. Master, what do you think our martial arts club is in the division universities? We're better than a lot of newbies. But it's impossible for us to enter the top 4. Maybe we can fight for the top 8. Geezer sure thought for a while and said, A professional 9th pin fighter is very impressive for freshmen, but not necessarily for juniors or seniors. Songqing University is not the only school with good seedlings, good foundation and good coaches. Last year, there was at least one professional 9th pin fighter in the top 8 of the division. And that was last year. Now a year has passed. Except for those who have graduated and left school, they won't stay still. Maybe they'll relax and regress. Lu Qing complained silently but didn't dare to say it out loud. How many professional 9th pin fighters are there in Shanbei University? He asked curiously. They were last year's national champions. Geezer sure smiled and said, Why are you asking them? You haven't learned how to walk yet and you want to run? Last year Peng Liun was of professional 8th pin. With his talent and hard work, he should be able to advance 1 pin in 1 year before the physical invulnerability. Their martial arts club's president, Su Wanyin, is also of professional 9th pin, but he has some supernatural ability, so he can't be treated as a normal professional 9th pin fighter. A professional 9th pin fighter graduated in his 4th year, but there seems to be another new recruit. This kind of strong martial arts school is much more attractive than Songqing University in this aspect. Just by listening to the introduction, Lu Qing deeply felt the huge gap between Songqing University and Shanbei University's martial arts level. Even without Peng Liyun, Su Wanyin was very likely to defeat his own martial arts club. Was this the difference between an ordinary strong school and a national champion? Seeing Lu Cheng's solemn expression, Geezer sure chuckled. So, this year is a training exercise. Next year, when Lin Ke has improved, you've grown up, and the other's martial arts level has improved significantly, we'll have a chance to make it to the national finals. You've also grown up. Lu Qing was excited and proud. He blurted out, Master, I didn't expect you to think so highly of me and think so highly of me. He mimicked Crayon Shinchan, scratching his head and smiling foolishly. Geezer sure said, I'm just saying. You don't have to take it seriously. Lu Qing looked up at the sky and pretended not to be embarrassed. Geezer sure stopped talking about the martial arts club and changed the topic. After yesterday's fight with Wu Dong, I believe you've learned a lot. And I've seen your practice with Li Mao. You can be considered to be familiar with the moves. From today on, I'll teach you the moves of the body refining stage officially. The previous moves could only be considered as a combination of basic movements and force skills. Lu Qing restrained his excitement and saluted. Thank you, Master. What's the move? Geezer sure coughed and forced himself to hide his playfulness. The root of my inheritance is the Ice Divine Kung Fu, which is now the unique skill of the ice sect. But in the body refining stage, you don't have to care too much about the attribute of the kung fu. It won't affect your physical invulnerability in the future. Today I'll teach you the body refining kung fu derived from the unique skill of the ice sect, 24 blizzard strikes. 24 blizzard strikes? At this exciting moment, Kai Zhongming's face suddenly flashed in Lu Cheng's mind. If little Ming were here, he would definitely say, 24 blizzard strikes? The first move would be called, I'm your father. This move is known for its ferocity and craziness. But the mind must not follow the craziness. Instead, it must be as calm as water condensing into ice. Together with the explosive power of the lightning and fire stance, it's definitely the best in the body refining stage. Geezer sure began to explain. Lu Qing listened very carefully. This was the first set of moves he had learned. Time flew. He had just memorized the key points of the 24 blizzard strikes when it was time to train with the other members of the martial arts club. Geezer sure stood in front of the members of the special training and looked at the remaining 12 members. He said in a low voice, Wu Dong was injured in an accident and can't come to the special training for a while. Next week is the regional competition of the National Martial Arts Club. I'll announce the main force and the substitutes. Li Mao and the others, who had the potential to compete for the main force and the substitute, held their breaths and the atmosphere became tense. Yan Zhika nodded slightly at Wu Dong's unexpected injury and couldn't participate in the special training. Then she smiled at Lu Cheng. The main force is Lin Ke, Qin Zhanghua and Sun Jian. Geezer sure gave the answer that everyone agreed with. Even if Wu Dong was not injured, he was no match for Sun Jian. Qin Zhanghua's hands had recovered after half a month of recuperation. After announcing the main force, Geezer sure glanced at Qin Zhanghua. You're a senior and will graduate in July next year. You may not have a chance to meet us in the future. You don't need to do your best in this regional competition. But you've been in the martial arts club for more than 3 years and been the club president for almost 2 years. Don't you have any feelings for this club? 4 years have passed. Don't you want to leave something here? Don't you want your junior brothers and sisters to say that Songqing University Martial Arts Club began to return to glory when Qin Zhanghua was the club president? Fame and fortune were hard to escape in life. Qin Zhanghua, who was expressionless, nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Coach Shi. I'll do my best. If I can get into the top 8 in the last year, I won't have wasted these years. Geezer sure smiled satisfactorily at his good attitude. You'll definitely get into the top 8. He turned to the others and said, the 3 substitutes are Li Mao, Lin Hua, and Guqin. In a similar group martial arts competition, each side would have 3 people fight in order. The winner would continue to accept challenges until all 3 people from one side were defeated. Then the competition would be considered over. Since the name list and order of the 3 people to fight were determined by the coach before the competition started, it was very important to determine the opponent's members in order. This was so that the coach could consider the exchange, counterattack, and consumption tactics. In a martial arts competition, not to mention professional fighters with weapons licenses, even in an amateur competition, there was a saying that punches and kicks had no eyes. No matter how good the referees and supervisors were, they couldn't prevent all injuries, so substitutes were necessary. Hearing her name, Guqing was a little surprised. She was stunned for a moment before she cheered and high-fived Yan Zhika beside her, as if she had already won the championship. You're in good shape and have great potential. After 3 weeks of training, even if you can't reach the level of amateur 4th pin, you'll be one of the best in 5th pin. Geezer sure was never so mean to girls. Wu Dong was injured. Except for Li Mao, Lin Hua, and Sun Jian, the other seniors were all of amateur 5th pin. It was natural to choose Guqing. It's a pity that Xiaoming didn't participate in the special training. Lu Qing sighed secretly. As for the rest of you, Yan Zhika and Li Xiaowen, find other girls during the martial arts class and form a cheerleading team. Create a cheering atmosphere in the stands. Lu Cheng and Wu Meng, you guys gather 20 to 30 male members and cooperate with the school security department and the student union to do the security work. Geezer sure continued to order. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, Qin Zhanghua finally asked, Coach Shi, what's the security work? Geezer sure laughed and said, you don't know? This year's opening ceremony is in Songqing University. There will be a 1st pin fighter here. You don't have to worry about his safety. All of you together won't be able to defeat one of his hands. Before he finished, most of the special training members were excited. Which mighty pin fighter? Oh. Can we all ask for his signature? Geezer sure coughed and said, We'll know who he is in a few days. The first pin fighter himself doesn't need our protection. He should be protecting us. The specific security work is to cooperate with the school security department and the student union to block the paparazzi, the fan club, and the fan club. If there's a chance, I'll help you to ask for his signature. Long live Coach Sher. The special training members shouted in unison, as if their tiredness had disappeared. After shouting, they looked at each other and inexplicably felt that they were a team. Even Chen Zhenghua's eyes softened when he looked at Lin Quebec. Geezer Sher smiled and stretched out his hand to signal them to calm down. The district competition is around the corner. We still have a lot of things to do. First, we need to collect information. Divide it among yourselves and find out all the information and videos of last year's district competition and national competition. When the draw is over and the opponent is confirmed, the main force and substitutes will immediately watch the corresponding video to understand the enemy. As soon as he finished, Lin K raised his hand and said, Coach Sher, I have all the information. Good, very good. Remember to pass it to me. Geezer Sher nodded with satisfaction. This was the first time Lu Qing heard Lin K speak so much since he joined the martial arts club. He couldn't help but want to complain. According to talker Kai Xiaoming, when Songqing University Martial Arts Club participated in the competition in the future, everyone would sympathize with them because the commentator would say that the main force of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lin K, was born deaf and mute, but strong in will. Second, in a week I'll teach you the first 12 moves of the 24 blizzard strikes of the ice sect. Geezer Sher stretched his muscles. Hee, I can learn 24 moves while you can only learn half. This is the difference in treatment. Lu Qing felt a little proud and took the opportunity to review and master the first part. At noon, the sparring session was over. Lu Qing came to Yanzhika and Guiqing again as usual for the past few weeks. I wonder which first pin expert will come this time. Yanzhika took the initiative to ask, full of curiosity. Lu Qing chuckled and said, I know. Who is it? Yanzhika's dark eyes were shining brightly, making people unconsciously indulge in them. Liang Yifan from Shanghai. Lu Qing didn't keep her in suspense. Liang Yifan? Yanzhika's slightly thin face was filled with joy. He's also my idol. Guiqing beside them was also very excited. You have so many idols. Lu Qing teased. Yanzhika puffed up her cheeks and said playfully, if it was the Dragon King Qing I wanted to break into your security, would you go easy on me? I've been a traitor for a long time. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Both of them burst into laughter. After a while, Yanzhika sighed and said, I hope Coach Sher can succeed and let us get the autograph. Autograph. Lu Qing repeated silently. Chapter 24. A week later at 1 o'clock in the morning, near Songqing University Hotel, it was not quiet at night. Lu Qing and Kai Zongming wore the martial arts club's special training suits and held walkie-talkies, guarding the door. Behind them was the brightly lit lobby. In front of them were the shadows of the security department, the student union, and other members of the martial arts club. The school is so stingy. They only gave us a martial arts suit when they asked us to stay up late as security guards. Kai Zongming tugged at his white martial arts suit with black edges and complained, if it wasn't for my girlfriend who likes Liang Yifan and wants his autograph, I wouldn't have come. Lu Qing looked at him with hidden bitterness. Talker, that's not what you said. You said we'll be brothers for life. Qing, who will help you if I don't? Although I'm so active because I want to get Yanzhika's autograph. Kai Zongming laughed dryly. If it's just an autograph, I can definitely entrust it to you. Didn't Qin Mo say that if you can help him get an autograph, he will provide you with food for a week? If it wasn't for our brotherhood, why would I stay up late to accompany you? Why isn't Liang Yifan here yet? He said his flight is at 12:05. It'll take him more than 40 minutes to get here. Planes are rarely delayed. Lu Qing looked outside and saw people everywhere. Some were squatting, some were walking back and forth, some were holding banners, some were whispering, some were looking excited, and some were holding cameras. Most of them were young people. Kai Zongming looked at the scene and sighed. It's already midnight, but there are still hundreds of fans waiting here. The appeal of a first pin Mighty Ones is really awesome. This is the only place we can see, Lu Qing said with a smile. Lu Qing chuckled. Fortunately, I've pulled some strings with Geezer Sher. Otherwise, how do you think the two of us can stay here? Those guys from the student council and the security department are all jealous. This is a good place to get close to him. Qing, I'll praise you more. Kai Zongming gave him a thumbs up. When we change shifts at dawn, will you still go to practice martial arts? Lu Qing left the house at 5 o'clock every day to train. He could hide it from others, but he couldn't hide it from his roommates. He had already explained to them that he was going to increase the amount of martial arts training. Of course I have to go. I'll go back to sleep after I'm done with the training. Otherwise, I'll slack off if I don't have an excuse for not going. Lu Qing answered calmly. He didn't find it hard or tiring at all. Instead, he took it for granted. While the two of them were talking, there was suddenly a commotion outside. They looked up and saw 3 black cars in the distance. As the vehicles slowly approached, the surrounding sound waves exploded one after another. Many people were shouting themselves hoarse and rhythmically. Liang Yifan! Liang Yifan! Liang Yifan! Hey hey hey! Those at the door, hurry up and stop the fans and reporters from coming closer. Lu Qing and Kai Zhongming's walkie-talkies buzzed. Both of them were a little shocked by such a scene. After looking at each other, they came back to their senses and quickly rushed out. Together with the other security guards, they came to the side of the car that had just stopped and formed a large circle. According to the practice method, they held hands and blocked the tide of fans and reporters who were trying to fish in troubled waters. The force of the tide was quite fierce. Lu Qing and the others' outer defense line was almost broken through. Fortunately, Kai Zhongming's strength of amateur fifth pin was not just for show. Lu Qing's coordination and strength had improved a lot. They barely managed to stop the tide, which attracted the angry stares of the fans. Do you think there will be a group of people on the Shanghai Club or Liang Yifan's BBS live broadcast? A group of people will scold us security guards as boorish hooligans who don't know what's good for them and don't care about our feelings? Under such circumstances, Kai Zhongming still couldn't stop his mouth. He found a chance to talk to Lu Qing. Lu Qing nervously stopped him and answered casually, "Maybe they will frame us for beating people up and bullying people. Even if there is no news, we have to make some news." At this time the car door was opened. Lu Qing knew from the more intense reaction of the fans that Liang Yifan had appeared. Unfortunately, he couldn't see him because his back was facing him. The tide became more turbulent and the shouts louder. Lu Qing felt that his defense line was about to be broken. At this critical moment, he heard a clear and mellow voice. "Everyone please be quiet. I, Liang Yifan, am flattered to receive such love from all of you. But it's already early in the morning. We can't disturb other people's rest for our own sake. Everyone be quiet. I'll be here with you." In such a noisy and chaotic scene, this voice was no different. It was equally clear to everyone's ears. The noise stopped abruptly. The outside of the hotel returned to silence. The crowd also stopped. Lu Qing and Kai Zhongming turned their heads and saw a man of medium height standing on the stairs at the entrance of the hotel. His height was similar to Lu Qing's. He was wearing a simple dark blue martial arts suit. He had a calm temperament and was not an ordinary person. Just by standing there, he had the feeling of the deep sea and the boundless earth. People directly ignored his ordinary appearance. "It's really Liang Yifan?" Kai Zhongming whispered. Liang Yifan was in his 30s. It was the age when men were most mature but not old. Facing the eyes of the fans, he smiled gently and said, "It's hard to return the favor. Everyone please line up and sign. I won't go up until tonight. Of course, don't make a noise. It's not good to disturb others. We are all people with good manners." Hearing this, the fans were inexplicably moved. The girls even covered their mouths with tears, crying and saying that Liang Yifan was so nice. The walkie-talkie of Lu Qing and the others sounded again. "You guys maintain order and let them line up quietly." With the change of responsibilities, Lu Qing and Kai Zhongming started to work again. They stopped the people who cut in line and let the fans line up orderly. One by one they went up to sign. The reporters next to them were flashing their cameras, recording the scene. The night was quiet. Kai Zhongming looked at Liang Yifan, who was earnestly signing autographs under the lights. He then looked at the fans and reporters who were seriously waiting in line. Suddenly he turned to Lu Qing and said in a low voice, "Qing, what?" Lu Qing asked blankly. Kai Zhongming took a deep breath and said in an unprecedentedly serious tone, "I want to join the special training." Oh. Lu Qing looked at him deeply and pursed his lips. He seemed to feel the same way. He didn't say much while maintaining order. Minutes and seconds passed. At 3 o'clock in the morning, there were only a few people left in the line to sign autographs. The crowd around them was reluctant to leave. Seeing that the line was getting shorter and shorter and was about to end, Lu Qing exhaled and suddenly stepped out of the line. Taking advantage of the geographical advantage, he was at the end of the line in a few steps. There were only 3 fans in front of him. "Hey, who are you? What are you doing? Go back." An angry voice came from the walkie-talkie. Lu Qing reached out his hand and turned off the walkie-talkie directly. At this moment he felt that he was very manly. "Can you give me a punishment for this kind of thing? I'll accept it even if you give me a punishment." Kai Zongming's mouth was half open and he was stunned for a while. Then he suddenly jumped out and lined up behind Lu Qing. He also turned off the walkie-talkie. "Qing, I worship you today," he said in a low voice. Lu Qing was already in front of Liang Yifan. He took out a small, cute notebook that he had prepared in advance and said a little nervously, "Mr. Liang, my friends and I worship you very much. We hope you can sign an autograph." Liang Yifan smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry. You've worked hard all night. I've seen it all. Just take turns to sign autographs." His voice wasn't loud, but it spread all around. The students who acted as security personnel cheered in a low voice. Seeing Liang Yifan turn the pages of the notebook and sign 3 autographs, Lu Qing was happy and moved. Thank you, thank you." Half an hour later, at the entrance of the hotel. Fortunately, nothing happened this time. "If you did something wrong, I'd like to see how you explain it to me. At that time, I can even expel you." The deputy director of the security department roared in front of Lu Qing and Kai Zongming, carrying out the fiercest reprimand. After a while, he said reluctantly, "I'll talk to your dean. Whether you'll be punished or not depends on your attitude when the time comes." "Teacher, you're right. It's all our fault. We were too young and impulsive." Kai Zongming was always flexible. Lu Qing also followed suit. After all, he had already gotten the autograph. When the matter was dealt with in their own school, there was a lot of room for negotiation. It was a good tradition of every group to protect their own. After sending the deputy director away, Lu Qing exhaled and said, "You're really good. No wonder you used to be a master of professional 7th pin. After working in the office for so many years, you almost made me lose my concealment of spirit and qi." "You were still stance just now?" Kai Zongming glanced sideways at Lu Qing. "Yeah. Otherwise it would be so boring," Lu Qing said matter-of-factly. At this time it was close to 5 o'clock. The crowd had dispersed. The hotel was unusually quiet. The autumn wind rustled their clothes. Kai Zongming and Lu Qing subconsciously fell into silence. Looking at the lights in the hotel lobby and feeling the autumn chill outside, Lu Qing suddenly said, "Talker, do you really want to join the special training of the martial arts club? Aren't you afraid that you won't have time to accompany your girlfriend? Aren't you afraid that you won't have time to sleep in and play games?" Kai Zongming exhaled a breath of hot air and said, "My girlfriend has always been a straight-A student. I'll encourage her to choose a second major. Also, I'll save the time to video chat with her. Hehe, I plan to fly to the capital during Christmas and New Year's Day and date for a few days. Now I need to save money." He came from a well-off family. His monthly allowance was more than twice that of Lu Qing's, a total of 3,000 yuan. However, he was also a spendthrift. He never had any leftovers. As for the problem of school attendance, with the help of his roommates, he would only miss 3 or 4 classes at most after holidays and weekends. Without waiting for Lu Qing to speak, he continued. "I've thought it through. After graduating from college, we will enter society. We won't have the free time, energy, impulse, and passion like now. I've always liked martial arts. Although I'm lazy, I still often fantasize about it. What's the difference between a man and a salted fish if he doesn't have dreams? I don't want to spend my 4 years in college with nothing but games as memories after classes and exams. My talent is not bad. I'm now of amateur 5th pin. When the time comes, there's still hope for me to enter the professional martial arts circle. Anyway, I'll give it a try. Who knows? Just like how you chase your goddess. Who knows, maybe you'll hit the jackpot." Lu Qing rolled his eyes at him and said, "You're just expressing your feelings. Why are you insulting me?" "I'm used to it." Kai Zongming laughed. The two looked at each other and smiled. Suddenly, they had a tacit understanding and said the same line at the same time. "Life is short. Why not give it a try?" Chapter 25. The next night, Songqing University Martial Arts Gym was brightly lit and crowded. The New Year's National University Martial Arts Competition was about to begin. Lu Qing waited for Yan Zhika outside the women's locker room. He handed the cute notebook to her with a smile. Liang Yifan's signature. "I tore it off myself as a souvenir." Yan Zhika opened her eyes wide in surprise and joy. She turned to the 2 pages of the signature and confirmed the authenticity. You really got it? Really thank you so much. Lu Qing calmed down and smiled gently. Why are you thanking me? Didn't you give me a bottle of medicine before? Returning the favor was an excuse to avoid awkwardness between both sides. You're right. Yanjika nodded slightly and said thoughtfully, I wanted to treat you to a meal. Since you said so, thank you. Treat me to a meal? Is this a private date? I missed it so perfectly. Lu Qing opened his mouth slightly and almost showed a sluggish expression. He regretted it so much that he almost slapped himself. Who told you to talk too much? Who told you to explain first? Actually, I don't mind if you treat me to a meal. He forced himself to say. Yanjika curved her eyes and smiled slyly. Don't you have the ointment? Why treat me to a meal? Before Lu Qing answered, she smiled brightly with her bright dimples. Since you missed the chance, you can only wait for the next time. Next time I'll pick an expensive one. Lu Qing joked to ease his regret. Expensive one? Then I won't treat you, Yanjika dragged her tone. I'm wrong. If Yanjika treats me to a meal, I'll wolf down the food at the roadside stall. Lu Qing put his hands together and replied jokingly. Yanjika tilted her head slightly and said with a smile, wolf down the food? You can eat so much? Then I won't treat you. Look at my sincere eyes. Lu Qing felt that he needed an expression package urgently. By the way, why do you have such a girly notebook? Yanjika smiled and changed the topic. I bought it specially. A rough man like me never uses a notebook. Lu Qing made a self-deprecating remark. Oh. Yanjika smiled and was about to say something else when Guqing waved at her from not far away. Qing, I have to go now. I still have something to do. Yanjika pointed at Guqing. As cheerleaders, they had to try to stir up the mood of the audience tonight and create a warm atmosphere. That was to take the lead in clapping and shouting. After all, it was a live broadcast. It was best not to have an awkward silence. Lu Qing waved and watched her leave. Kai Zongming, who had been waiting nearby, leaned over and said seriously, Qing, do you know how I felt when I heard your conversation? What? Lu Qing was prepared to be insulted. Hold it in, can't laugh, can't hold it in, ha. Kai Zongming laughed loudly, you talk too much. Who asked you to find excuses? That's why you didn't consult me first. You don't have a chance to go on a date, right? Do you regret it now? You must be grieving, right? Lu Qing glanced at him. Little Ming, come here. What? Kai Zongming replied warily. Let me strangle you. Lu Qing said fiercely, we should go and maintain order. Today's venue also needed to maintain order. The 2 wore Songqing University martial arts suits and were arranged near the guest area. Dozens of universities participating in the district competition had sent instructors or vice principals. The top 2 martial arts clubs from last year's district competition, Shanbei University Martial Arts Club and Sanjiang College Martial Arts Club, were invited to participate in the national finals. All the main and substitute members were invited to participate. Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, as last year's overall champion, would go on stage to draw lots for the other schools later. Yanjika walked to Guqing. She didn't mention the notebook and Liang Yifun's signature. Instead, she talked about how to stir up the atmosphere of the stands tonight. During the conversation, when they talked about Liang Yifun's participation in the draw, Guqing seemed to think of something and said, Cuckoo, I heard that Qing was really awesome last night. What happened to him? Yanjika asked curiously. He came out of the security team and asked for Liang Yifun's signature in front of the deputy director of the security department. The deputy director yelled at him through the walkie-talkie and asked him to go back. He turned off the walkie-talkie directly. He was so awesome that he wasn't afraid of being punished. Guqing gossiped. Fortunately, Liang Yifun didn't mind. After that, the deputy director only scolded him. Hearing Guqing's story, Yanjika bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth. Her eyes became gentle and the corners of her mouth lifted slightly. Her right hand gently stroked the cover of the notebook. A young man in a tuxedo with a black bow tie stood in the aisle of the guest area. He looked at the male locker room of Songqing University Martial Arts Club and chuckled to his companions beside him. Lin Ke joined Songqing University this year. We can't underestimate him. If we have time, we should watch their matches. President, Lin Ke is nothing. Why should we pay attention to him? A tall young man with a somewhat childish face said with a flattering smile, in ancient times, you could be an immortal. Not at all. That's because the ancient people were too inexperienced. The man in the tuxedo smiled complacently. His feet left the ground and floated up 10 centimeters. He floated up and floated to the back row of the guest area along the aisle. The guest area was higher than the one before. The man in the tuxedo had just floated past a few rows when he suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Chuhui, you're still so showy." The man in the tuxedo turned his head and saw a young man in a white martial arts suit standing at the edge of the row, looking at him with his arms crossed. He was about 1.8 meters tall, with messy eyebrows and heavy dark circles under his eyes. He looked tired, as if he often stayed up late. "Hey Su Wanyin, you haven't changed either. You're still a gangster." Chu Hui sneered. "No matter how showy I am, I won't be defeated by a new member of the club." Su Wanyin, the president of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, smiled slightly. "You don't have to provoke me. I'm sincerely convinced by junior brother Peng. I won't nag you anymore. Watch your step. Don't fall." Watching him take his seat, Chu Hui floated to the back row and asked in confusion, "Did he eat something wrong? Did Su Wanyin eat the wrong medicine? Why is he so easy to talk to? He must have taken the wrong medicine. Otherwise, why would he curse you to fall and ask you to watch your step? You're floating in the air. Why would you care about that?" The tall young man with a childish face laughed. "Yeah, among all the people here, you're the least likely one to fall." The other members of the Martial Arts Club of Sanjiang College echoed. Chu Hui also found it funny. He couldn't help but look back at Su Wanyin. What does he mean by that? Bang! As soon as Chu Hui finished speaking and turned around, he bumped head-on into a pillar that supported the dome. His nose was sore from the collision and tears flowed down his cheeks. He forgot to maintain his superpower and fell backward. His companions hurriedly caught him. "What the F***ck is this building? A pillar in the middle of the road." The childish young man scolded and blamed the pillar. At this time they were approaching the last row. Chu Hui floated up again. His tuxedo was not messy at all. He looked at Su Wanyin seriously. "I really fell. How could they not notice such a huge pillar standing right in front of them?" In the row of Shanbei University, Su Wanyin saw Chu Hui fall down. He smiled and said to the other members, "Did you see that? Senior brother Su, is this your supernatural ability?" The members of the martial arts club asked at once. A handsome young man with freckles pursed his lips thoughtfully. Su Wanyin said proudly, "Yes, I didn't realize it before. I thought I was simply a jinx. Fortunately, junior brother Ping noticed this and found someone to help me discover the supernatural ability of this jinx." While speaking, he patted the shoulder of the young man next to him. The young man turned around with a blank face. Everyone was talking excitedly, but he still looked like he was daydreaming. "Nothing, junior brother Peng. You can continue to think about your physics problems and life problems." Su Wanyin laughed and patted Peng Liyun's shoulder again. Peng Liyun had light fluff above his mouth. His skin was as smooth as a girl's. He didn't look outstanding, but he looked very clean. Hearing this, he didn't ask any more. Instead, he turned around and continued to think about life. "Senior brother Su, to what extent can your supernatural ability reach?" the young man with freckles asked. Su Wanyin smiled and answered, "Now it can only slightly interfere with the opponent. If it goes beyond that, the opponent will have a terrible headache and no effect." He wanted to show off, so he pointed at the two people below and said, "I'll show you again." Lu Cheng and Kai Zhongming followed the instructions from the walkie-talkie to the designated maintenance spot. After climbing a few steps, they heard a voice, "Hey, you there." Lu Cheng turned around and saw a group of young men and women in Shanbei University martial arts suits. He was puzzled. "Why do you call me? Is Peng Liyun here?" Su Wanyin smiled and said, "It's a little slippery in front. Someone fell down just now. You have to watch your step. Don't fall down too." "Oh, thank you," Lu Cheng said gratefully. Suddenly, the Jindan in his lower abdomen jumped. The nebula suddenly expanded and contracted rapidly. Lu Cheng was stunned. His Jindan had returned to its original state and nothing happened. What happened? He frowned and walked up with Kai Zhongming in confusion. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. They stood near the last row, overlooking the whole stadium. Why didn't it work? The members of the Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, who were waiting for a good show, were stunned. He was safe and sound. Su Wanyin was also surprised. He stood up and walked into the aisle. He looked carefully, but Lu Cheng was still alive and kicking. He was still smiling. "What's wrong?" Su Wanyin turned around in confusion. Just then he slipped. He didn't have time to adjust his center of gravity and was about to roll all the way to the bottom. A hand reached over and held him firmly, preventing him from falling. There will be a corresponding backlash if the spirit of speech fails. Peng Liyun, who had been in a trance, suddenly woke up and said with deep eyes, "Ah, junior brother Peng, what happened just now?" Su Wanyin stood up and asked in surprise, "Why did I fail?" Peng Liyun shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. Then he looked back and whispered to himself, "I smell the starry sky." His eyes were empty again. Chapter 26. The opening ceremony of the National University Martial Arts Competition started on time while Su Wanyin was still in shock. First, the symphony orchestra of Songqing University played, followed by the lively dance group. "I can take a nap after the dance." Kai Zongming yawned as if he was very experienced. Lu Qing also pretended to be scared. During the opening ceremony, the principal talked nonsense for 1.5 hours. If he does that again today, will he be beaten? I don't know if he'll beat me up, but he's not the only one with a lot of nonsense today. I watched the video of last year's opening ceremony a few days ago, and I still remember the long speech of the president of the Martial Arts Federation. It almost hypnotized me. Kai Zongming looked like he was going to sacrifice himself for justice. In the front row of the guest seats, where the Shanbei University Martial Arts Club was, Su Wanyin listened to the speech of the principal of Songqing University. His eyes showed obvious tiredness, but he didn't dare to sleep because there was a live TV broadcast today. He's too talkative. The corner of the mouth of the handsome young man with freckles beside him twitched. "Senior brother Su, can you jinx that old man and make him forget his lines, throw away his manuscripts, or have high blood pressure or something?" Su Wanyin was silent for a moment and sighed. "I want to, but it's too damn far away." As he spoke, he looked at Peng Liyun beside him. "At times like this, I envy and worship junior brother Peng the most. Regardless of whether or not there are people around him talking, he can still think about life and let his mind wander. I suspect that he actually has the ability to sleep with his eyes open. I also envy brother Liyun. He can daydream while talking." Another member of the martial arts club echoed, "Keep your voices down." The instructor of the Shanbei University Martial Arts Club sitting in the front row turned around and said. He was middle-aged, white-haired, deep-set, old-fashioned, and had a good reputation in the martial arts club. Everyone immediately fell silent. Half an hour later, Kai Zongming's eyes were glazed over and he was about to fall asleep. "Ching, let's talk. Otherwise I'll fall asleep standing up and roll down the stairs. Then I'll become the laughing stock of the whole country. I think the principal is almost done. There are so many guests today and everyone has to say a few words. If he takes too much time, the opening ceremony will continue until dawn." Lu Qing comforted himself. The atmosphere created by the dance and music had dropped to the freezing point. As soon as Lu Qing finished his speech, it seemed that there was indeed a time limit to his speech. The principal stopped abruptly and bowed to the end of the speech. He stepped down from the stage with a look of dissatisfaction. Pa, pa. Sincere and warm applause rang out in the stadium, almost overturning the roof. Lu Qing and Kai Zongming also applauded hard, feeling as if they had escaped a great disaster. "Thank you, Mr. Principal, for sparing our lives. Next, let's welcome the President of the National University Martial Arts Federation, Mr. Fang Jinjue, to give a speech." The host invited the next guest. Kai Zongming opened his mouth slightly. "Qing, let's talk." Lu Qing stared ahead at the cameras in various positions and muttered to himself, "What should we talk about? Do you know that there's a special competition system in the martial arts competition?" Kai Zongming started to chat wholeheartedly. "I didn't crawl out of a grave. How could I not know? Under normal circumstances, each side will send out 3 fighters and they will fight one by one. The winner will stay and the loser will leave. The side that loses all 3 fighters will lose. But sometimes they can apply for a special competition format in advance. All 3 fighters will fight at the same time so that they can take advantage of certain martial arts combinations." Listening to President Fang Jinjue's endless speech, Lu Qing casually mentioned the special competition format. Kai Zongming smiled. "Then do you know the story of the special competition system?" "What story?" Lu Qing was suddenly interested. Kai Zongming smiled. "It said that when the professional martial arts competition was first established, the Xuanwu sect went to the then leader of the Wulin League, Old Master Lin Zhongshuan, who was a warrior sage, king and other titles. He said that the competition system was unfair. Our sect was founded on sword formations and was good at triple light sword formation. Isn't it unfair to fight one-on-one with one's weakness? Well, that's right. Some sects are good at formations instead of fighting one-on-one. The normal competition system is indeed unfair to them. Lu Qing agreed. Kai Zongming chuckled. Old Master Lin thought so too, so he set up a special competition format. As long as you apply in advance, you can let 3 disciples go on the field at the same time and set up a sword formation. The opponents can either team up with 3 people and use the formation to break the formation, or let the 3 martial artists on the substitutes bench go up together and use numbers against the sword formation. It's quite fair. Why is it funny that the sect that is not good at formations has the advantage of numbers? Lu Qing glanced at Kai Zongming in confusion. Why are you laughing? Kai Zongming held back his laughter and said, after hearing this, the head of Kong Tong School couldn't sit still. He also went to Old Master Lin and said that we can't be biased. Kong Tong School is good at 5 elements of 5 directions. 3 disciples can't set it up at all. That's true. Lu Qing hesitated. Kai Zongming continued, when Kong Tong School said so, Shangqing sect also couldn't accept it. Why should they suffer? Senior Lin, you have to consider our Big Dipper sword formation. Don't you think it's very difficult for Old Master Lin? It's very difficult. We have to come up with a good and comprehensive competition system. Lu Qing frowned. At this time, the abbot of Daxing Temple also came in and looked at Old Master Lin eagerly. Donor Lin, the 500 Arhat formation. Kai Zongming clapped his hands. Well, Old Master Lin said at that time, all of you get out of here. Lu Qing also couldn't help but laugh. Sure enough, there's no such thing as taking care of everything in the world. The two talked in low voices without looking sideways. The smiles on their faces seemed to appear because of the speeches. While talking and laughing, they finally finished one guest after another and watched the interspersed singing and dancing. It was time for Silent Night Light, Liang Yifan, to come on stage. There was no need for Yan Zhika and the others to take the lead in cheering and applauding. The whole martial arts arena seemed to be exploded by the sound waves. This was not only because of Liang Yifan's personal charm, but also because of the efforts of the guests in front of him. I'm not very good with words. Since everyone is anxious to see the result of the draw, I just want to say one thing. I hope the National University Martial Arts competition will be better and better, let martial arts be more deeply rooted in people's hearts, and give the young people who didn't have the opportunity to practice martial arts at a young age a chance to improve themselves. Liang Yifan said concisely with an I understand expression. Good. Kai Zongming, Su Wanyin and the others took the lead in applauding and smiling. The enthusiasm of the atmosphere was enough to show people's hearts. The projection was turned on and a screen appeared behind Liang Yifan. On it was the table of the division competition, but the 2 sides were still blank. According to the competition system, there would be 4 groups in the division. The top 4 teams of last year's division would directly enter the group competition as the seeded teams. The rest of the schools would enter the corresponding group after 2 or 3 rounds of single elimination. The one who was drawn to the left side during the draw would have the home advantage. The group competition was a single-cycle format. The home advantage would be determined based on the results of last year. The top 2 teams would enter the quarterfinals, and the top 2 would represent their division in the national finals. At this time, the MC and the host put 2 boxes, one big and one small, on the table in front of Liang Yifan and asked him to draw the seeded teams of each group from the small boxes. Group A. Liang Yifan put his hand into the box and took out a piece of paper. He opened it and said loudly, Shannon University Martial Arts Club. This was the 3rd team of last year. Group B. Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. As soon as Liang Yifan finished speaking, the coaches in the hall looked at each other. This group could only compete for the 2nd place. Group C. Zhenjiang College. Group D. Haiyuan College. After drawing the seeded teams of each group, Liang Yifan bowed and left the stage. The other guests would draw the teams of each group for the elimination competition. Lu Qing was a little worried. He was a little concerned about the honor of the martial arts club. He was a little disappointed that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was not among the teams of Group A for the elimination competition. Compared to Shanbei and Sanjiang, the other 2 martial arts clubs were not so scary. Group B, the 3rd round of the elimination competition. The home team. The guest drew a piece of paper. Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Damn, it's the most difficult group. Lu Qing was a little depressed. It's okay. Maybe the other opponents are weak. We have a high chance of winning the second place. Kai Zongming was optimistic. Next, the guest drew the opponent of Songqing University, Neihai Normal School. Not bad. Lu Qing was relieved to see that it was a recognized weak team. The opponents of the second round of the elimination competition would be Qinyang and the other two schools that were not so strong. They had a high chance of entering the group stage. After drawing the lots, it was already late at night. After returning to the dormitory, they had no energy to pay attention to the news and fell asleep one after another. At noon the next day, after returning to the dormitory, Lu Qing finally had time to browse the forums and websites for news related to the opening ceremony of the National University Martial Arts Club. Because of Liang Yifan's attendance, everyone was quite concerned about it. In the forum of Longhu Club, he found related posts at the bottom of the homepage. There were video news and a special topic by Songqing TV station. Special topic? Lu Qing didn't have time to read the comments below. He first skimmed through the news video to make sure that he wasn't talking and laughing with Kai Zongming. Only then did he feel relieved. But when he clicked on the Songqing TV station's feature program, what appeared before him was his own face. I'm very excited, very excited. Well, I'm proud of you. With a silly smile on his face, he said silly words. Well, this was the interview he accepted as a bystander outside the martial arts club during the welcome ceremony. Lu Qing recalled the past and quickly opened the door of the small dormitory, shouting to the other side, "Talker! Little Ming! Come and see, we're on TV." After the interview, the two of them were looking forward to appearing on TV. From time to time they would watch the news of Songqing TV station. But they didn't see it and gradually forgot about it. Unexpectedly, this interview was part of the special topic and would be edited and broadcasted during the opening ceremony of the martial arts club. Really? Kai Zongming ran over and signaled Lu Qing to pull him back. Hey, not bad. My smile is so handsome, unlike someone who looks silly and silly. Look at the comments. Is there anyone praising me? Chapter 27. To be honest, Lu Qing would be embarrassed to see a familiar netizen commenting on him from a stranger's point of view. He didn't know how to face them in the future. For a moment he didn't want to read the comments. It was better to be an ostrich with its head buried in the sand. But he couldn't resist Kai Xiaoming's enthusiasm and constant urging, so he had to continue reading. Apart from the first few comments, the martial arts fanatic Unparalleled Dragon King was the first to reply. Lin K seems to be okay, but it's hard for him to achieve anything. Who asked him to meet the strongest martial artists in the past 10 years? Peng Liyun from Shanbei, Ren Li from the capital, and Chaoyang from Huahai, Zhen Huanxing from Guangnan. They are all famous martial artists. The first two are the direct disciples of their respective sects, while the latter two are reserved by Xinghai. Even if we don't mention other famous martial artists, among this year's freshmen, Li Xiaoyuan from Guangnan and Fang Zhirong from Shanbei are slightly better than Lin Quebec. Damn, who is this? He knows so much about the university martial arts competition? Kai Zongming was shocked when he saw the reply of Unparalleled Dragon King. Lu Qing was also full of admiration. He's a martial arts fanatic. It's always right to ask him about martial arts. It's said that he's a rich second generation who came back from studying abroad and has been staying at home all the time. A plumber eating mushrooms also replied, Peng Liyun and Ren Li are freshmen last year. Before they graduate, other schools have no hope. What? Brahman sent a blank emoji. She was the favorite of the forum. She just graduated from primary school last year and was very childish. A plumber eating mushrooms replied, Hey, you're not retiring this year? Think about it, when Peng Liyun and Ren Li entered school last year and several years ago, a professional 8th pin danchi stage fighter was enough to compete for the national championship. But it's definitely impossible today because they have passed the ranking event in October and are both of professional 7th pin. With their talent and hard work, they will improve every year. How can the latecomers catch up with them? Can't someone enter danchi in 1 year and surpass them in 2 years? Brahman refused to admit defeat. Invincible Punch lamented, I failed again in the ranking event. Look at Peng Liyun, look at Lin K and the rest. I really want to die. Some people exist to make you meaningless. After reading many comments, Lu Qing and Kai Zongming looked at each other and sighed at the same time. Lin K is famous now. After this live broadcast and special program, he was considered to be a little famous in the country. Looking at the comments again, the veteran Don't Be a Hooligan said, Am I the only one who thinks that the reporter in the feature show is pretty? Okamoto's fan also replied, at least 9 points. Sis, I think. Above the Sky, whose avatar was a rock girl, imitated their tone and replied, am I the only one who thinks that the passerby in the interview is not bad? Phew, Kai Zongming exhaled. A fine steed is not common and Bolu is not common either. Fortunately there is a normal girl. Wonton Seller replied uncertainly, which passerby are you referring to? The one with the silly face who said something about being honored. He's quite cute. Above the Sky replied quickly. Deformed aesthetic standards. Kai Zongming cursed hatefully when he saw the content. Lu Qing smiled proudly at the side and found that the awkwardness he expected didn't happen. It was quite interesting to see familiar netizens commenting on him without knowing his true identity. Talker, I'm sorry for your loss. He patted Kai Zongming on the shoulder. I don't believe this. Kai Zongming grabbed the mouse from Lu Qing and started to scroll by himself. After 2 pages he finally saw a reply from Beautiful World. The passerby is very handsome. The one beside the silly face. Songqing University's quality is really good. Even a random interview with a handsome guy. She was a famous girl on the forum and a student of a famous school in the capital. There were many replies, both male and female, and they all agreed that Songqing University's quality was good. I'm so moved. Kai Zongming put down the mouse and wiped his tears. Lu Qing was playing QQ and sent the link to the special interview to Yenjika. If I knew it would be broadcasted, I would have been more serious. After sending the message, he turned to Kai Zongming. Talker, you said you wanted to join the special training. Do you still want to? When do you want to join? I'll tell Coach sure. I've already said that and you still doubt my sincerity? Look at my eyes. Kai Zongming replied exaggeratedly. But I can't join this year. My girlfriend can't make a second major in time. I'll join the special training at the beginning of the next semester. Lu Qing dragged his voice and said, tomorrow comes again? Really? Kai Zongming said without hesitation. I'm mainly preparing for the date in the capital. I need to save money. While speaking, he ran back to his small dormitory and took a can of something. Lu Qing took a closer look and sucked in a cold breath. Godmother. Is little Ming saving money for a date? Kai Zongming said generously, how can I not have money for a date? I'm going to save all my living expenses for the next 2 months. Plus my private money, it should be enough. All your living expenses? Lu Qing was shocked. Well, my phone bill is enough to last for 3 months. I've quit smoking, drinking, socializing, drinking, gaming, online shopping, and eating extravagant meals. Every day I'll just eat 2 steamed buns in the morning and 5 cents for lunch and dinner. I'll eat them with Laogan Ma. On the weekends I'll squeeze out 20 RMB to eat some stir-fried dishes. I've calculated. Including the cost of hot water and internet, it's less than 200 renminbi a month. I still have 2,800 renminbi left. In 2 months I'll have 5,600 renminbi. Kai Zongming thought about the process of saving money. Lu Qing shuddered as he listened to his description. Godmother with plain white rice every day? Will he vomit? Little Ming is really working hard to go to the capital to have fun with his girlfriend. With this kind of perseverance and patience, what can't he do? Sigh, I think I can eat anything when I'm hungry. Kai Zongming took a deep breath and was full of fearless spirit. He gave the extra autograph to Qin Mo, but since they were roommates he was too embarrassed to ask him to cover his meals for a week. He just asked him to treat his roommates to a barbecue in 2 days. Lu Qing gave him a thumbs up. I almost wanted to lend you money after hearing your miserable story. But on second thought, how can I lend you money without money? Ever since he started his martial arts training, his appetite had increased tremendously. Geezer Sure had also specially instructed him on how to match his diet. Even though it was not as particular as the nutritionists in foreign countries, there were still basic requirements. Since then, his monthly food expenses had skyrocketed and doubled to 1,200 renminbi. On the other hand, his monthly living expenses were only 1,300 renminbi. If it were not for the cheap cafeteria, he would not have been able to afford to practice martial arts at all. This did not even include the tuition fees that normal people had to pay to practice martial arts. Fortunately, when he first entered the school, his parents were worried that he would have all kinds of miscellaneous expenses, so they gave him an extra 2,000 yuan as backup. In the end he was left with 1,000 yuan. Last month, his mother gave him another 800 yuan so he could afford to go out for social gatherings. Moreover, before he had some gains and results in his martial arts training, he did not want to ask for money from his family because he always felt that he was not doing his job properly. Kai Zongming shook his head and laughed. I don't like to borrow money from others. I will save what I can unless I'm really at the end of the line. But if I'm really at the end of the line, do you think I won't ask for money from my family? Who's the two of us? Said Lu Qing. Thinking of himself, he said enviously, I don't know when I can ask Yan Zhika out alone. Excluding the money for meals, he still had 700 yuan left. With the money he had saved up, it was enough for a few dates. But after that, how could he ask for more living expenses from his parents? It was so sad to be a poor student with no other source of income. Let's not talk about whether your relationship is good enough and whether you have a chance. Just based on the recent arrangements, you have no hope in a short time. Kai Zhongming laughed. You have special training every day and martial arts competitions on weekends. You need all kinds of help. How can you have time for dates? Wait until mid-December when the group competition ends. If we don't qualify, you will have more time. At that time, there will be an amateur ranking event at the end of December. It's a good excuse for dates. Save your money. Bear with it, don't waste this 700 yuan. Lu Qing nodded hard. Alas, I'm so busy that I don't even have a chance to do part-time work. After chatting with Kai Zhongming, he saw Yan Zhika's reply. She also said that he smiled foolishly during the interview. If it was made into an emoji pack, it would be a black mark for life. With a silly smile on his face, Lu Qing held his phone and began to chat with her eagerly. At the end of November, it was already winter. The cold wind hit, but the Songqing University Martial Arts Club stadium was overflowing with waves of heat and waves of cheers. This was the first match of the group competition of the National University Martial Arts Competitions, as well as the most important one for Songqing University Martial Arts Club. In the previous knockout round, Lin Ke had shown his invincible strength and defeated the Inland Sea Normal University. In the duel with Qinyang University, he had also won 2 rounds in a row and knocked the 2 strongest opponents out of the ring. He had only given up the 3rd round because he had used up too much of his strength. After that, except for the unexpected injury of Sun Jian, the second fighter, Songqing University Martial Arts Club had smoothly entered the group stage. Lin Ke's performance had raised the expectations of all the teachers and students in the school. After a long time, the martial arts hall was once again filled with spectators. In the group, besides Songqing University, there were also Shanbei University, Guanan School, and Luqing University of Science and Technology. Shanbei University was the champion last year. This year their main force was still there, so Songqing University could not challenge them. Luqing University of Science and Technology was not strong enough to enter the group competition. Therefore, for Songqing University, Guanan School, which was at the same level as them, was a stumbling block for them to enter the top 8. The first match of the group competition, Songqing University versus Guanan School. Guanan is actually a little stronger than us, but he was defeated by the rising Sanjiang College in the first round of the knockout round last year. His score is not as good as ours, so we have the home field advantage, so we're on par with him. Geezer Sher wore a black old man's hat and was explaining the situation of Guanan School Martial Arts Club to the main force and substitutes. The women's locker room was given to Guanan. Lin Hua and Guiqing were also in the men's locker room. After all, there was a separate bathroom. Lu Qing, who was in charge of logistics, listened to Geezer Sher's introduction with curiosity. Waves of shouts came from outside the door. Songqing University. Songqing University. Chapter 28. Songqing University. Songqing University. The shouts were deafening like a tsunami, brimming with the surging enthusiasm of those who had gathered sand to build a tower. Lu Qing even felt his scalp tingling and his body trembling. Hundreds and thousands of people gathered bit by bit to cheer for him was so soul-stirring that the blood in his body couldn't help but boil. He couldn't wait to be the one representing Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the next battle. After a month of hard practice, he had grasped the visualization and moves of 24 blizzard strikes. He kept practicing and improving, but since the start of the district contest, the special training was cancelled. Without a reference, he was not sure what level he had reached. Gathering his scattered thoughts, he refocused on Geezer Sher's explanation. This was the first time he participated in a martial arts competition and the first time he saw the locker room before a match. Geezer Sher still looked like an empty nest old man, but he was a bit serious this time. He said to Lin Ke, Chen Zhanghua and the other leading players and substitutes, "The strongest one in Guanan is Gu Yu, a junior. He is the son of their instructor, Gu Zhen, and the president of the martial arts club. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. He thought Geezer Sure would introduce him seriously, but he was gossiping about his opponent's background. Geezer Sure changed the topic. After hearing what I said, are you relieved? Do you think that this is a guy who got in through the back door? Hey, he did get in through the back door, but he is also a real talent. He passed the professional ranking event in April this year and got 9th pin. He should have gotten in at the same time as you, Lin Quebec. Lin K nodded slightly. He seemed to have known about it. Guyu is tall, strong and strong. His fighting style is very tough. Pay attention to the adjectives I used, very tough. Geezer Sure coughed a few times. You should have seen his match videos. I'll focus on 3 aspects. First, don't underestimate his strength and tough fighting style, ignoring his advantage in stamina. Except for the time when he lost to Chu Hui of Sanjiang, he always took the lead and fought all 3 matches without showing any signs of fatigue. While talking, he glanced at Lu Qing as if to say, we have a monster on our side. Lu Qing nodded silently, feeling sorry. In terms of stamina, I can make him call me daddy. The second aspect is that he's very patient. When he runs into opponents who are skilled in guerrilla warfare, he will defend himself firmly and not follow them blindly. He will counter their attacks as they come. Then he will either wait for their stamina to drop and reveal a problem, or he will purposely show an opening to lock them down. He will use a tough fighting style that is not afraid of being injured or running out of stamina to end the battle in a short time. Geezer Sure glanced at Lu Qing again as if to say, if you are stronger, you will be Guyu's nemesis. Guyu will never be able to wait for your physical strength to decline. If we really played like this, we could battle for 3 days and 3 nights to see who could defeat the Sandmen. Lu Qing was imagining such a scene. Unfortunately, it would be too unfriendly to the audience. He would be cursed at 18 generations of his ancestors, and no one would watch his matches in the future. He could only dream about it. Geezer Sure magically took out a metal flagon, took a deep sip and smacked his lips. The third aspect is that according to my observation and the information collected by Lin Hua, Guyu is very conceited and proud. Therefore he will definitely be the first to fight. He won't expect the other contestants to exhaust Lin K's stamina. Lin Hua had a close friend in Guanan school, and she turned her friend into an informant. Lin K, you will be the first to fight. Defeat Guyu head-on and destroy Guanan's momentum. As long as we win the first round, our chances of winning will be more than 70%. Geezer Sure looked at Lin Quebec. Lin K was wearing the white martial arts suit of Songqing University with black edges, looking clean and fresh. At this moment, facing Geezer Sure's arrangement, he still answered with no expression, okay. You can pretend to play guerrilla warfare and let Guyu purposely show an opening to win. Then you can seize this opportunity to attack him crazily with 24 blizzard strikes and completely suppress him. You will not give him any chance to recover and counterattack. Geezer Sure laid out the tactical arrangement. Lin K thought for a while and nodded to show his agreement. In this way you won't have much strength left in the second round. At that time, if Jilan is the first to fight, you will have a chance to win. If Fei Sanli is the first to fight, you can exhaust his strength and irritate him. Then you will leave the second to fight Qin Zhanghua. Geezer Sure turned his eyes to Qin Zhanghua, whose eyebrows were like flying insects. Fei Sanli's level is about the same as yours. He has a vicious fighting style. Of course, a martial arts competition is a real fight. There are no restrictions in a real fight. There is nothing wrong with his fighting style. At most, he will be hated by the audience. You have to protect yourself first in case you get hit by a sneak attack and lose all your previous efforts. Qin Zhanghua thought for a while and said, okay, I will be careful. If there is no accident, you will have no problem defeating Fei Sanli, who has fought with Lin Quebec. As long as you don't get injured, you can change to a tough fighting style in the last round. Jilan is just of amateur second pin. Give her enough pressure and she will probably panic. She may not be able to take advantage of your weakness of consuming too much energy. Geezer Sure continued to analyze and arrange. After hearing his words, everyone suddenly felt that they had a high chance of winning. If you get injured in the fight with Fei Sanli, you can force Jilan to fight hand-to-hand and drain her energy. This will help our last fighter, Li Mao, gain an advantage. Geezer Sure looked at Li Mao again and said, although you are 1 pin lower than Jilan, as long as Lin K and Qin Zhanghua do what I asked, it won't be difficult for you to defeat her. It's a pity that senior brother Sun Jian is injured and senior brother Wu Dong quit the martial arts club. Otherwise we would have won. Guo Qing said regretfully. Wu Dong felt that losing to Lu Qing was too shameful and he was busy looking for a job. After his injury was healed, he simply quit the martial arts club. For him, every time he saw Lu Qing it was like being slapped in the face. Geezer sure snorted and said, "Wu Dong? He is half disabled. Even if he comes back he won't be a match for Li Mao. Li Mao, are you okay?" Li Mao swallowed his saliva and listened to the roaring cheers outside. He nodded hard. "That's it. Lin Hua and Guqing will be the substitutes." Geezer sure signaled Lu Qing to write down the list and handed it to the match supervisor. Before a fighter entered the ring, if his old injury flared up, the substitutes could play a role. But if the fighter had entered the ring, even if he fainted before the fight, he could only be considered as a loser and could not be replaced. Lu Qing quickly wrote down the list arranged by Geezer Sher and handed it to the match supervisor by the door. The moment the supervisor took the paper and stepped out of the door, there was a sudden silence outside for a few seconds. Then came the roaring cheers. "Songqing University, come on. Lin Ke, come on. Lin Ke, Lin Ke." Such cheers hit Lu Cheng's heart like an electric current. He wanted to stand in the center of the ring and accept the crazy and surging cheers and attention. Next year at this time. He clenched his fists quietly. Hearing the cheers and shouts, both locker rooms were silent for a while. Songqing University's martial arts atmosphere is so good. No wonder it's a well-known martial arts school. In the Guanan school side, the bald Fei Sanli was a little shocked. Sitting on the metal bench, Guyu slowly put on his wristband and suddenly stood up. His tall and strong body brought a strong pressure to the surrounding people. A well-known martial arts school? 10 years ago you could say so. But now, a bunch of Tom, Dick and Harry can't compare with our Guanan school. Guyu moved his neck left and right and looked at his father, Gu Zhen. Come on. Gu Zhen and Guyu seemed to be made from the same mold. They both had high noses and deep eyes, which made them look like mixed bloods. But one had gray hair while the other had erect hair. Guyu rubbed his hands and walked to the door. Come on. Come on. Fei Sanli, Ji Lan, and other members of the martial arts club stood up at the same time. It was a spectacular scene before a battle. In the Songqing University side, Lu Qing stood by the door and looked at the seats full of spectators. He couldn't find Yan Zhika leading the cheers. Looking back, he found Lin Ke put the black thermos cup aside and stood up slowly. Lin Ke. Lin Ke. Hearing the cheers, Qin Zhanghua was stunned for a moment. When he first joined the martial arts club, who didn't want to be in the limelight in front of the whole school and receive their adoration and love? Who didn't want to defeat strong opponents and win glory for the martial arts club? When he was a freshman, he could only do odd jobs and envied his senior brothers and sisters enjoying the cheers. When he was a sophomore, he finally became the main force and represented the Songqing University Martial Arts Club in 2 knockout matches and 3 group matches. Qin Zhanghua. Cheers. That was a glorious moment that he would never forget in his life. But year after year of failure, the enthusiasm of his classmates was exhausted. The martial arts club became less popular, and he lost the confidence to defeat strong opponents. He began to degenerate and only wanted to maintain his position. When he was a junior, he lost the second knockout match. The audience was sparse and couldn't suppress the cheers of his opponents. He couldn't hear the cheers for Qin Zhanghua anymore. Today, when he was about to say goodbye to Songqing University, such a scene appeared again. It was like yesterday, but the name was Lin Ke this time. Lin Ke. He suddenly shouted at Lin Ke, who was walking to the door. Lin Ke stopped and looked back indifferently. Lu Qing and the others suddenly felt nervous, fearing that there would be another conflict. Qin Zhanghua stood up and walked to Lin Quebec. He reached out his right hand and took a deep breath. Come on. Lin Ke was stunned. Lu Qing and the others were also stunned. After a few seconds, Lin Ke's expression didn't change, but he reached out his right hand and shook Qin Zhanghua's hand like a high five. They shook hands tightly. Turning around, the members of the martial arts club walked out of the locker room. Outside the locker room was a huge stadium with deafening shouts. There was a black mass of heads on both sides of the stadium. There was also a stone staircase leading up to the arena. This was the road of glory, the road of glory. Chapter 29. Songqing University. The shouts were like a wave, roaring and almost overturning the roof of the martial arts arena. Lu Qing, who was walking at the back, saw Qin Zhanghua, Li Mao, Guqing and the others pause. Even Lin Ke, who was always cold and quiet, slowed down his pace. How could such a scene not make one's blood boil? The referee, a man with a broad face in his 40s, was standing in the center of the arena. According to the rules of the Martial Arts Alliance, The referee and supervisor should be at least 2 ranks higher than the contestants in order to prevent accidental deaths and serious injuries. However, in a duel between 3 ranks of physical invulnerability experts, the referee and supervisor were almost non-existent, so there was no rank requirement. Fortunately, it was easy to defeat the experts of this rank but difficult to injure them seriously. Who didn't have a trump card? The gentlemen of professional 7th pin looked at the Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Guanan School Martial Arts Club in their seats, took a deep breath and shouted clearly, "The first match between Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Guanan School Martial Arts Club. Lin Ke vs. Gu Yu." He didn't have the ability of Liang Yifan, so he could only rely on the loudspeaker to let his voice spread throughout the arena and drown out the waves of shouts. With a boom, the atmosphere in the arena was pushed to the highest level as if there was a sonic boom in the arena. Was it a duel between the leading fighters at the beginning? Gu Yu shook his body and threw off his outer coat. He stood up in his sky-blue martial arts suit and strode to the stone steps in front of him. "Come on, Gu Yu." The Guanan school cheered loudly. Their voices were drowned out in an instant. Every corner of the martial arts arena seemed to be set on fire. "Go Lin Ke! Go Lin Ke!" Gu Yu stepped into the arena and saw a figure with a white background and black edges walking towards him. Lin Ke touched the school badge on his chest, which said, "All mountains are small at a glance." He calmed down and cupped his hands in front of his chest. "I don't understand why you are such an idiot to choose Songqing University. Don't you know the martial arts club here is synonymous with a garbage dump? If you had come to Guanan, you would have had a chance to enter the national finals this year." According to the usual practice, there would be 3 minutes of dialogue before the referee announced the start of the match. It could be a small talk, a heart-to-heart battle, and Gu Yu did not waste it. Of course, this rule only applied before the start of the first round. The second and third rounds did not give time to recover. Lin Ke looked at him expressionlessly and didn't say a word. "Why aren't you speaking? Are you afraid that the moment you open your mouth, you'll reveal the anger or regret in your heart?" Gu Yu jabbed at Lin Ke with his trash talk, hoping to peel off the annoying calm mask of Lin Ke before the fight officially started. 3 minutes were about to pass, but there was no change on Lin Ke's face, which made Gu Yu feel frustrated. He blurted out, "Are you autistic? Or are they born deaf and mute?" He wasn't expecting an answer, but Lin Ke suddenly opened his mouth. His tone was cold and emotionless. "There's nothing to say to the weak." "There's nothing to say to the weak? Weaklings?" All of a sudden Gu Yu's anger rushed to his head, his eyes burning red. At this moment the referee extended his hand and pressed down. "Begin." Gu Yu leaned forward aggressively, trying to pull Lin Ke into close combat range with a tough posture. Lin Ke took a step forward and dodged to the side. He twisted his waist and swung his fists at Gu Yu's left and right temples with a sound like the beating of golden drums. Gu Yu didn't panic. He lowered his body slightly and blocked the attack with his hands. Then he tried to catch Lin Ke with the grappling hand. With another step, Lin Ke changed his position to avoid the grappling hand. Then he twisted his body and kicked at Gu Yu's shin. As soon as the kick was blocked, Lin Ke changed his position again, putting on the most standard and obvious guerrilla fighting posture. Guerrilla fighting. According to the collected information, his endurance is obviously not as good as mine, and guerrilla fighting consumes more energy than my steady defense. Is he using his weak point to attack my strong point? Is there a trap? The thought flashed through Gu Yu's mind. His hands were like 2 iron plates, cooperating with his feet from time to defend. Lin Ke stepped to the left, and Gu Yu changed his standing posture and center of gravity accordingly. At this moment he saw Lin Ke straighten his back and straighten his spine like a wriggling python. He forcibly recovered his center of gravity and returned to his original position. Then he threw a palm at Gu Yu's weak point. "What?" Gu Yu was a little flustered, but his mind was clear and his decision was decisive. He lowered his back and bent his legs to avoid the palm. Then he adjusted his center of gravity and raised his hands to block Lin Ke's follow-up attack. Bang! Lin Ke moved away again and continued to guerrilla, attacking once or twice from time to time. That was really dangerous. Lin Ke's control and adjustment of center of gravity are almost at the level of Danchi. No wonder he chose guerrilla fighting. He wants to give me a hard hit. Gu Yu defended steadily and thought to himself, "There's no such thing as a thief for 1,000 days. I have to create an opportunity to draw him closer. I can't let him change his direction so easily anymore. Maybe there will be more tricks next time." While thinking, Gu Yu pretended to be impatient. When Lin Ke attacked again, he tried to catch up and counterattack, which slightly messed up his footwork. Bang! Lin Ke didn't waste this opportunity. He stepped forward and came to Guyu's front. His palm hit Guyu hard at the junction of his right shoulder and right arm. Nice! The audience burst into cheers. Guyu showed a ferocious smile in the midst of the cheers. His left hand seemed to have been prepared. He rolled up and grabbed Lin Ke's arm. Then he stretched his legs and was about to give Lin Ke a fatal hit. But at this moment he suddenly heard the sharp sound of wind. The scene of the crazy winter storm appeared in his mind, and he even felt a bit of pain on his face. Lin Ke didn't dodge. Calmness and madness coexisted in his eyes. He clenched his other hand into a fist and punched at Guyu. His momentum was extremely fierce and his speed was beyond imagination. Guyu didn't dare to be careless. After weighing the pros and cons, he gave up the idea of sticking close to Lin Quebec. He shook his right hand and blocked with his left hand. He chose to defend again. Punches, kicks, elbows and knees came one after another. Guyu felt like he was in a vast ice field facing an overwhelming snowstorm. He didn't even have the slightest chance to breathe. In the seats of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lu Qing stood up unconsciously. This was the first 8 strikes of 24 blizzard strikes. In his eyes, Lin Ke was getting faster and faster. Not only was he draining all his strength, but he was also constantly adjusting his center of gravity and muscles to borrow some strength from Guyu's parry. It was like there was a spring between them. Every time Lin Ke retreated, Lin Ke would move faster and faster, pushing the craziness and fierceness of the blizzard strike. The more Guyu fought, the more frightened he became. He felt like he was a pedestrian in a snowstorm. If he didn't struggle, he would definitely die. If he struggled, he would waste precious energy. He was getting weaker and weaker, colder and colder. This is the true essence of 24 blizzard strikes. It doesn't stick to one move or one style. Lu Qing was dazzled. Every detail of his practice over the past month came to his mind. He kept breaking down and mixing them together. His hands were itching to try it out. 24 blizzard strikes was divided into 3 groups of 8 strikes. What Lin Ke showed was the essence of the first group, brutal blizzard. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of punches and kicks and the collision of bodies kept coming. The cheers in the martial arts stadium gradually died down. Bang. The figure kept retreating. He was kicked in the chest again and rolled out of the arena. After a short silence, the crowd burst out again. Lin Ke. The winner, Lin Ke. Guyu turned over and stood up, gasping for breath. He couldn't believe he was defeated like this. He had almost no chance to fight back. His chest hurt even more. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Ke, who was breathing unevenly on the arena. He snorted and returned to his seat. He said to Fei Sanli bitterly, "Don't give him time to recover. He can't hold on for long." Fei Sanli touched his bald head and laughed. He trotted to the stone steps and stepped into the arena. Without the referee's announcement, he directly pounced on Lin Ke with his footwork. Lin Ke didn't choose to dodge. He dodged sideways and narrowed the distance between them. They started to fight hand to hand. Fei Sanli didn't give in and used all kinds of moves. His 2 fingers brushed past Lin Ke's eyelids. Lin Ke's fist scraped his abdomen. His right hand grabbed a handful of Lin Ke's hair. Lin Ke's knife hand chopped his arm. This fight was really unscrupulous. The referee, who had been waiting by the side, was secretly nervous. He was afraid that one wrong move would cause an accident or injury. In an official martial arts competition, the 2 sides tacitly accepted the life and death contract. But after the competition, the referee would investigate whether he intentionally caused the death or injury. When it was time to act, he chose to ignore it. After 2 or 3 minutes, the 2 figures suddenly separated. Lin Ke squinted, bleeding from his nostrils and trembling body. Fei Sanli's face was bruised and swollen. He kept shaking his legs as if he wanted to rub the bruises on the spot. The referee glanced at them and raised his right hand. The winner, Fei Sanli. Victory and defeat were clear, so he stopped both sides from continuing to fight without regard for their lives. Earth-shattering boos broke out. They despised Fei Sanli's hooligan fighting style. Lin Ke took a deep breath and turned around to leave the arena. He didn't waste any time to reduce Fei Sanli's recovery time. Qin Zhonghua abruptly stood up and flexed the muscles in his arms. With a few vigorous steps, he crossed the stone steps and brushed past Lin Quebec. Lu Qing also went to support Lin Quebec. He felt that Lin Ke's breath was gone. His body suddenly became weak and he almost fell. "Thank you," Lin Ke said in a low voice. "It's what I should do." Lu Qing looked at him and said sincerely, "Your 24 blizzard strikes is really good. But in this way the consumption of physical strength is really terrible. After one round even Lin Ke couldn't bear it. Well, this fighting style is perfect with my characteristics. I have never worried about the lack of physical strength. It seems that Master didn't choose this martial arts style for no reason." Qin Zhanghua stepped into the arena. In front of him was Fei Sanli, who was breathing heavily and looking miserable. The scene suddenly changed. He seemed to return to the scene when he represented Songqing University Martial Arts Club for the first time. After a long time, it was still vivid in his mind. I was also in high spirits, I was also full of enthusiasm, I was also here to shine. At this moment, waves of cheers rang out in his ears. "Qin Zhanghua, come on! Qin Zhanghua, come on! Qin Zhanghua, come on!" Qin Zhanghua was stunned. He almost thought that he was in a dream. His eyes were slightly red. He looked at Fei Sanli like a tiger and used the snake steps to rush over. "Seize the tail of youth. I can burn again. I am the president of Songqing University Martial Arts Club." Chapter 30. With his snake-like steps, Qin Zhanghua lowered his center of gravity. Like a heavy truck, he wobbled towards Fei Sanli. Fei Sanli and Qin Zhanghua had clashed head-on with each other. Although Fei Sanli had dodged and blocked all of Qin Zhanghua's attacks, Fei Sanli was badly battered, his legs were sore and his body was weak. Facing Qin Zhanghua, who was obviously taller, heavier, and stronger than him, Fei Sanli did not dare to be careless. He quickly made a decision based on his own judgment. He took a step to the left and tried to avoid the attack. Just like when he challenged Lin Ke, Qin Zhanghua seemed to be prepared for Fei Sanli's move. He changed his footwork and suddenly accelerated. Like a heavy water buffalo with two horns, he rushed toward Fei Sanli. His momentum was so fierce and terrifying that Fei Sanli felt the arena tremble slightly. He did not know the yin-yang stance, so he could not coordinate his whole body, pull back his center of gravity, and change his inertia. However, after years of practicing martial arts, he had experienced this situation. He immediately shrank his body and squatted down, trying to avoid Qin Zhanghua's upper body. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and used the monkey steals the peach to attack Qin Zhanghua's most vulnerable part. In the auditorium, watching this scene through several big screens, many male students felt a chill in their crotch. According to the current situation, before Qin Zhanghua hit Fei Sanli, he would be caught by Fei Sanli. Moreover, due to the inertia after the momentum, Qin Zhanghua's hasty dodge would inevitably mess up his footwork. This was really a pain in the ass. What should he do? The audience was nervous. Fei Sanli was very satisfied with his own response. In the blink of an eye, he had gained the upper hand and put his opponent in a very dangerous situation. Qin Zhanghua was still too impatient and reckless. At this moment he saw his opponent's feet were off the ground. Off the ground? Wasn't this a taboo in a fight in the body refining state? How could he maintain his footwork, control his center of gravity, and put his body in a position where he could easily exert force? Could Qin Zhanghua fly? Fei Sanli's eyes turned and saw a dark mass in front of him. A heavy object fell on top of his head. Qin Zhanghua was not Chu Hui, so of course he could not fly. He just jumped up to avoid Fei Sanli's monkey steals the peach and threw his body directly toward Fei Sanli. This was an unconventional way of fighting, but Fei Sanli was in a half squat and could not change in time. Qin Zhanghua's height and weight, coupled with the inertia of rushing forward, made him feel as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. Fei Sanli curled up his body and tried to roll forward to avoid Qin Zhanghua, but he was too slow. Qin Zhanghua fell from the sky and crushed him under his body. Thump. Both of them fell to the ground at the same time. Fei Sanli was a little dizzy from the fall. Qin Zhanghua seized the opportunity and stretched out his hands, grabbing Fei Sanli's wrists. At the same time he exerted force with his legs, trying to lock Fei Sanli's lower body to prevent him from being hit by the knee. This was the basic skill of the school of throwing. The situation had entered Qin Zhanghua's field of expertise. Of course, Fei Sanli would not sit still and wait for his death. He struggled with his legs to avoid being pinned down. He shook his hands and skillfully exerted his strength to escape from the capture. Kai Zongming, who was sitting in the audience seat, had his mouth half open. Why does this look like AF** king rape scene? The corner of Lu Cheng's mouth twitched as he muttered to himself, "This is really rubbing against the ground?" While struggling, Fei Sanli suddenly raised his head and hit Qin Zhanghua's nose with his head like a cannonball. He wanted to get out of this situation at all costs. Qin Zhanghua was experienced and did not panic. He exerted force with his waist and back and turned over. He was on the bottom and Fei Sanli was on the top. He easily avoided the headbutt. Then he exerted force with his legs and rolled again. The two of them rolled around on the ground, one trying to control the other trying to get rid of him. Occasionally they would bump into each other and occasionally they would try to catch each other. While they were fighting, Qin Zhanghua suddenly shouted and followed Fei Sanli's example and headbutt him. Bam! Amidst the dull thuds, the two of them bumped their foreheads against each other. Both of them were dizzy and the pain was unbearable. Their ears were ringing incessantly, and it was as if they could see golden stars jumping out one after another. Their tumbling and wrestling movements came to an abrupt halt. Qin Zhanghua took advantage of the fact that he was on top and had not fought hard before. He quickly recovered and firmly locked Fei Sanli's movements. He put Fei Sanli's hands behind his back, face down, and pressed him to the ground. Qin Zhanghua wins. The referee observed for a while and announced the result. Good job. Qin Zhanghua. Qin Zhanghua. Qin Zhanghua. Shouts burst out and filled the whole martial arts arena. Qin Zhanghua stood up shakily. His head was still dizzy, but his eyes were full of excitement and joy. I can do it. I can accept cheers. I am the president of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Won't I get a concussion? Lu Qing touched his forehead. The martial arts competition was not a show. It was cruel enough. Accidents, injuries, and deaths happened every year. Geezer Sure stood beside him and said leisurely, yes, but it's not very serious. Don't think about whether you will get hurt or die in the arena. Leave it to the referee to decide. Lu Qing took a deep breath and did not say more. He was still a student. The seats of Guannan School were silent. Coach Gu Zhen and President Gu Yu were silent for a while. There was only one contestant left, and the opponent, Gorilla, seemed to still have some strength left. Jilan, take advantage of the fact that he has a concussion. Fight him first and make him more dizzy. Seize the opportunity and take him down. Gu Zhen looked at the girl next to him. Jilan was a manly girl with extremely short and thin hair. She pursed her lips, left her seat, and stepped on the stone steps. Fei Sanli staggered down the steps. There seemed to be circles and circles of confusion in his eyes. Entering the arena, Jilan slid close to him and gave him a kick, which was blocked by Qin Zhanghua. She immediately stepped back and kept her footwork. It seemed that she was better at kicking. Side kick, low kick, and roundhouse kick. Her figure was nimble, her footwork was nimble, and her feet were powerful. Qin Zhanghua, who was a little dizzy, gradually became flustered. Suddenly approaching, Jilan kicked Qin Zhanghua's face with the tip of her right foot. Qin Zhanghua was a little slow, as if he could not react. But when Jilan's kick hit his face, he suddenly grabbed her shoulder with both hands. His facial muscles were twisted because of the pain. Instead of falling back, his body was pressed forward. With the strength of his hands and the pressure of his body, Qin Zhanghua wanted to use the same trick to press Jilan to the ground and win in what he was good at. Jilan was shocked. Her feet flew up and twisted Qin Zhanghua's upper body like a pair of scissors. She took advantage of the force of the fall and threw her opponent out. Thump. Both of them fell to the ground and were dizzy. Jilan stood up like a carp and took advantage of Qin Zhanghua's dizziness to get close to him and grab his throat with her right hand. Jilan wins. The referee said concisely. Qin Zhanghua slowly stood up and shook his head. His footsteps were light as he walked down. When he brushed past Li Mao, who was the third to go up, he said in a low voice, "She was thrown very hard by me. She also used a lot of energy. She should be able to calm down a little." Li Mao stared at the front and nodded slightly, indicating that he got it. During the whole process he did not look at Qin Zhanghua. He was a little dull and the cheers of, "Go Li Mao," echoed in his ears. Phew, that was close. But Jilan is out of strength. Guoqing said to Lin Hua from the seat, obviously happy. It was a pity that Yen Zhika had no time to turn on QQ because she had to organize the cheers, so it was hard for them to share information. He looked at the stage and secretly cheered for Li Mao. But as he watched, his face changed slightly because Li Mao's body was obviously trembling. In that instant, the words that Li Mao had once said to him appeared in his mind. I can't do it. I'm so nervous that I'm trembling in the amateur ranking event. Fortunately, my opponents are either too weak or more nervous than me. F***ck is senior brother Li Mao overly nervous? Lu Qing could see that Jilan was not blind. She had also noticed her opponent's abnormal state. She immediately gritted her teeth and made the boldest attempt. She gave up the guerrilla fight and took the initiative to attack. I can't give him a chance to calm down. Step forward, side kick. Facing Ji-Lan's attack, Li Mao's mind was in a mess. He did not know what to do or why he was in such a state. I can't disappoint everyone. I can't disappoint Coach Shi. I can't disappoint Lin Ke and the others. The more he thought, the more confused he was. The cheers of Go Li Mao made him feel so stressed that his mind was blank. He instinctively raised his hand to block, but it was too late. Ji-Lan kicked him in the chest and made him stumble backward. Li Mao regained consciousness from the pain in his chest, as if he had returned to the time of training. However, Ji-Lan's kicking skills followed one after another. She took advantage of his unstable footing and kicked him again and again. Bam, 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 bam. Li Mao was kicked continuously. Although he tried to block, he was almost kicked into the air. He retreated step by step to the edge of the arena and fell down. The warm atmosphere in the martial arts arena suddenly froze, as if it had dropped to the freezing point. They had gotten the key to victory and taken the absolute advantage. Why was the result reversed in less than a minute? Lin Ke stood up and clenched his fists tightly. Qin Zhanghua was at a loss. He suspected that he had not woken up yet and that the dream just now had turned into a nightmare. Lu Qing stared blankly. There was only one thought in his mind. Is this the end of this year's martial arts competition? It's so simple that it's unreal? Everyone's hard work in the past 2 months is over just like that? This was the martial arts competition. The winner would accept all the honor and cheers, and the loser would be forgotten. Yin Zhika stood quietly in the stands with red eyes. She was like this, Lin Hua was like this, Guqing was like this, and all the girls and some boys of Songqing University were like this. No one could understand this kind of pain and sadness without experiencing failure. In the seats of Guanan School, Gu Yu and the others seemed to be in a daze. After a long time, they raised their hands and cheered with fear and relief. After helping the supervisor clean up the mess, Lu Qing went back to the locker room. The moment he stepped in, he felt extremely depressed and silent. Lin Ke, who was always cold and indifferent, was sitting on the metal bench half naked. He covered his head with his white and black clothes and buried it in his chest. He was so silent that he looked like a stone statue. Qin Zhanghua stood in the corner with his right hand bleeding. In front of him was a dented cabinet door. He kept growling in a low voice, "How could this happen? How could this happen? How could this happen?" Li Mao stood in the center timidly with his head slightly lowered. He kept saying, "It's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault." Guqing and Lin Hua were sobbing silently with tears streaming down their faces. The immense sadness seemed to have materialized and crashed into him. Lu Qing opened his mouth wanting to say something but he couldn't. "It's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault." Li Mao kept apologizing like a helpless child. At this moment he saw a black shadow at his feet. He looked up blankly. Geezer Shi's old face with few wrinkles appeared vaguely in front of him. "You know you're wrong. Make up for it next year," Geezer Shi said gently. Li Mao finally burst into tears, snot and tears flowing down his cheeks. "Yes, coach." Lu Qing's eyes were wet. He couldn't forget this scene for a long time. Chapter 31. The atmosphere in the martial arts club had been gloomy for a long time, and it was only slightly relieved after the clean victory over Luqing University of Science and Technology. During this period, there was also the match where they went to Shanbei to challenge the national champion. In front of Su Wanyin, Lin Ke, Qin Zhanghua, and Sun Jian, who had just recovered from his injury, performed abnormally. Lu Qing, who was with the team, almost couldn't believe his eyes. It wasn't until the conclusion of the match when Geezer Shi confirmed that Su Wanyin had the ability of eloquence, that everyone suddenly understood. It was late December when the group competition ended. Businesses began to decorate their stores for the increasingly popular Christmas season. Lu Qing walked out of the small dormitory and came to the living room. He sat down beside Kai Zongming, who was watching the martial arts competition attentively. "Talker, I have something to ask you. You're so polite and attentive. You're up to no good." Kai Zongming joked. "Is it about your goddess?" Lu Qing could only laugh to express his acquiescence. "How are things going between you and your goddess? I see that you're smiling obscenely every day. It should be good, right?" Kai Zongming asked casually. Lu Qing thought for a while and couldn't help but smile. After losing to Guan Nan, she was in a bad mood for a long time. I racked my brains every day and tried to cheer her up. I think that since the two of them had fought through the bad times together, their relationship should have improved. The first of the three biggest illusions in life. Kai Zongming poured cold water on him mercilessly. Only when she is willing to talk about her own affairs with you in private and talk about her relatives and friends can your relationship be better. Yes. She often talks about herself these days. I feel like I'm getting to know her all over again. Before, I only admired her appearance and the rumors about her. Now. Lu Qing was too embarrassed to talk about mushy things in front of Kai Zongming, so he brought the topic back to the beginning. I remember you said before that after the group competition in December, you could ask her out alone with the help of the amateur ranking event? What if he did not ask her out on holidays like Christmas and others took advantage of him? This was called crisis awareness. Kai Zongming laughed. You don't need to ask me about such a simple thing. After 3 months of training, your goddess's martial arts level has improved tremendously. Don't you want to participate in the amateur ranking event? Don't you want to know your current rank? The amateur ranking event was held 4 times a year. Different places had different timings. In Songqing, the amateur ranking event lasted for 2 days at the end of March, June, September and December. However, the professional ranking event was held nationwide in April and October every year. Yeah. When we were chatting, she was quite concerned about her own martial arts strength. Lu Qing agreed. You've been training for 3 months. Didn't you say you were of amateur 9th pin? Don't you want to know what rank they are now? Kai Zongming asked again. Yes. Lu Qing did not refute. Isn't that simple? Both of them wanted to attend the ranking event and were very close friends. It was only natural for them to go together. But your goddess will most likely ask Guqing to come along. You can do the same and ask old Qiu to come along. When the time comes, you can signal to old Qiu and Guqing to have some private time together. Your goddess will definitely agree. Then won't it be a 2-person world? Kai Zongming looked at Lu Qing disdainfully. And then? Lu Qing asked. Kai Zongming chuckled and said, if she passes the ranking event and gets the rank she wants, you can ask her out for a meal in the name of congratulating her. If she fails miserably, you can use the excuse of relieving your mood and eating to make yourself feel better. I mean, you two are alone outside, so why worry about not having a reason? If it's still early, you can go to a movie or a cafe. Choose a quiet place. Damn. These are all tricks. Lu Qing wanted to take a notebook and write them down. At this time, Kai Zongming rubbed his belly and frowned. I'll go to the toilet first. I'll tell you more when I come back. After watching him go into the bathroom, Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and thought about asking Yan Zhika out for a meal. She was such a good girl. There must be a lot of suitors around her. If he hesitated and hesitated, someone might beat him to it. But was it a good time to ask her out now? Could he ask her out? Would it be too abrupt? Would it make it impossible for them to be friends? Would she also have a secret crush on someone? For a moment he was worried about his gains and losses. His heart alternated between sweet and sour, enriching all kinds of inner drama. After a long time, the martial arts competition ended. Hearing the commentators' comments, Lu Qing suddenly came back to himself. Where am I? What am I doing? I'm here to ask Xiaoming. Where is Xiaoming? Is he still in the toilet? Lu Qing turned around and looked at the bathroom in confusion. It's been almost half an hour. The competition is over. Why hasn't Kai Zongming come out yet? Could he have fainted in there? While thinking, he heard the sound of flushing and the door of the cubicle opening. Then he saw Kai Zongming come out holding the wall and floating on his feet. Talker, what's wrong with you? Lu Qing stood up and greeted him. Kai Zongming gnashed his teeth. Damn it. I'm seriously constipated. Seriously constipated. Constipation. Lu Qing was stunned at first. Then he understood the whole story. Ha 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 ha. He held his belly and laughed. Who told you to eat plain rice with Laogan Ma every day? Ha ha ha, you asked for it. No wonder this guy stayed in the toilet for so long. Although Xiaoming didn't strictly follow the plan to save money, he still had a lot of perseverance. At least he would eat plain rice with Laogan Ma every day. When it was almost Christmas, he did it for several consecutive days. Finally, he was constipated. Ah. Kai Zongming sat down helplessly and endured Lu Qing's wanton ridicule. He said self-deprecatingly, damn it. My ass hurts. After laughing for a while, Lu Qing wiped his tears. I'll remember this. When you get married, I'll solemnly announce it to the guests and let them know that you've worked so hard for love. It's so touching. Only a few days left before I fly to the capital. So I'll stop saving. I'll start eating good food. Kai Zhongming sighed and changed the topic. When you're alone with your goddess, don't follow the tutorials on the internet. What do you mean that you agree to be in a relationship once you've asked her out? Be bold and seize the opportunity to hold her hand. Every girl has a different personality. Your goddess is obviously not suitable for this. Of course, when you're alone, you have to show that you value her appropriately. Otherwise, your goddess will think that you don't mean it and accept someone else. Show proper respect? Lu Qing acted like a good student. Be more attentive, more considerate, more compliments, more attention, and let her vaguely feel it. As long as you don't point it out, most girls will still enjoy this feeling. Let me remind you, don't be in a hurry to confess. Confessing is a finishing move, not a starting move. When your relationship is unfamiliar, no one will accept a sudden confession. Of course, it also depends on the face. When your relationship is closer and a little ambiguous, girls will be more hesitant. Confessing will only increase the pressure on her and make her slowly lose her joy. When the time is right, the best time to confess is when success comes naturally. Kai Zhongming played the role of a Casanova to his heart's content. Lu Qing memorized the words and went back to the dormitory. He turned on the computer and searched for information about the amateur ranking event. At the same time, he logged on QQ and sent a message to Yenjika. I'm going to participate in the amateur ranking event. What about you? Yenjika was online. She immediately replied with a fist clenched and cheering emoji. I was just about to ask you. I'm definitely going to participate. Hey, we have a tacit understanding. Lu Qing wanted to reply, tacit understanding, but changed his mind. I've checked the registration form. The organization fee is 500 yuan in Songqing Martial Arts Club. Which pin do you want to apply for? 5th pin. Yenjika sent a devilish dog smile emoji. One must have a goal. What about you? Me? Lu Qing was stunned. Which pin should he apply for? He had reached the level of amateur 9th pin more than a month ago. After the fierce battle with Wu Dong, more than a month of hard work, the entry level of the visualization and fighting methods of 24 Blizzard Strikes, and the live martial arts competition, he had definitely surpassed this level. As for how much he had surpassed, he couldn't tell because he hadn't recovered from the training yet. 7th pin. Lu Qing sent a, I'm so awesome emoji. 7th pin? If you fail in the ranking event, I'll pretend not to know you. Yenjika sent a snickering emoji. Give me a copy of the form. Let's sign up today. By the way, you call old Chiu and I'll call Qing to create opportunities for them. Great minds think alike. Lu Qing sent an emoji of a proud smile wearing sunglasses. He was about to send the form to Yenjika when he saw the date at the top of the page. Why is it January? Lu Qing browsed the web and found the news a few days ago. He knew that Songqing Martial Arts Club was in disrepair and was undergoing maintenance. The amateur ranking event at the end of December was postponed to the middle of January. Oh no. He quickly sent a sniffling emoji and a link to the news to Yenjika. The ranking event has been postponed to the middle of January. I have so many exams to take at that time. I won't have time to participate. Yenjika sent an emoji of dizzy circles in its eyes. The middle of January was the exam season of Songqing University. I can only wait until March next year. Lu Qing's heart was bleeding. He sent a pitiful emoji. Casanova's advice went down the drain. Plans couldn't keep up with changes. Forget it. I have something else to do. Yenjika sent an emoji of a nodding kitten. What is it? Lu Qing's heart tightened. He pretended to ask casually. Is it a date? Yenjika sent a blank emoji of a white rabbit biting a carrot. I plan to study as soon as possible. But my aunt heard that my cousin is not in a good mood recently, so she came here and planned to stay until New Year's Day. I have to accompany her if I have nothing to do. Is your cousin also studying in Songqing? Or is he working? Lu Qing felt better when he saw that Yenjika was willing to talk about her relatives. According to Casanova, this was a sign that their relationship had improved. Yenjika sent a smirking emoji and said, Actually, you know him. I know him? Lu Qing was confused. Who is he? When did I know Yenjika's cousin? I have no impression of him at all. Yes. Yenjika replied. Could it be that gorilla? Lu Qing deliberately said Xinjianghua. Yenjika knew that I knew him. He was either in my class or in the special training of the martial arts club. Bah. How am I similar to him? When did I have the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear? Yenjika sent a scornful emoji. Guess again. Similar? Lu Qing had a flash of inspiration and sent Yenjika's favorite dumbfounded emoji. Could it be Lin K? You're smart. Yenjika sent a proud smile. He has been my idol since childhood. Lu Qing's typing hand paused. He felt like there were 10,000 alpacas galloping in his heart. Damn. This is really big news. Fortunately, I didn't get jealous. I only envied Lin K, not envied or hated him. Now I just want to call him brother-in-law and hug his leg tightly. But you don't communicate at all? He asked in confusion. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.